Today, and I'm just gonna say it now for those who come in and be like, oh, this is just a typical Arrow stream. No, it's gonna be a little bit different today. Today we will be reading the first book, the first couple chapters of the Warrior Cat series. So if you're not used to like ASMR style, I guess you would call it, or just like people reading stuff to you, this probably won't be your type of stream. But we're gonna give it a go because some people have been interested, one in the series and or just interested in me reading this book for whatever reason. So we'll be reading today. Yay! So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm fucking excited. Um Cat ears are staying on. Don't worry, they will. They'll come back. Stream doesn't end until the book does. Absolutely not. I'll be here for a fat minute. And with the way I read, yeah, we'll be here for at least a week. Yeah, we can't be reading it without the cat ears. No, trust. I was definitely planning a couple things. You guys aren't ready. I was planning. So just wait till I show you what I got up my sleeve. We're gonna have the whole ambiance and everything for this stream. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm going to warn you guys. I'm not great, even when I did popcorn reading in school. I'm not great at just doing readings like this on the fly, so be aware this isn't gonna be smooth sailing. I might stumble, and y'all know me, I'm bad at English anyways. I know how to read, I'm just bad at talking and reading, so keep in mind, if you're looking for real nice smooth ASMR, I recommend my fellow gen mate Vexing Cat. She does an amazing job, so if you're looking for a pro, go visit her streams. But here, I'm an amateur. We're just gonna see how the first couple chapters go. And if you guys enjoy it and you like it and you vibes with it, you, the audience, have an opportunity to actually voice some of the characters within this series if we really fuck with it. So just keep that in mind. We're gonna see how this goes, and if you guys like it, maybe you guys will read along with me. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So, as we're reading today, and as you are introduced to characters, keep in mind who you like, because maybe you'll be able to voice act them or voice read them, whatever the fuck we're gonna be doing with it. You know how to read, surprisingly, right? Yeah, just to answer your question, well, I've thought about it. I'm not too sure. I've kind of gone back and forth on the idea of doing like a face reveal. I might, because I do like to do IRL stuff, and I've been wanting to put out IRL content. So it might happen, it might not happen. I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet. I had the weirdest daydream earlier today about a bunch of VTubers collaborating to popcorn read the Hunger Games books. Well, hey, it might happen. We need a Katniss Everdeen. Hell yeah. Arrow Warrior Cat Soda. No, please. No, please. I also want to go into this. Listen, I read the series growing up. I can proudly say I genuinely enjoyed the series. That's why I'm actually interested in rereading it, because I was going to originally anyways. But then I brought it up on stream. We were like, hell yeah, let's just read it together. So cringe aside, because we know it's gonna be cringe, it's about fucking cats, let's be for real. I just want you guys to get into the story itself, because I think it's interesting, and I think you guys will like it, so I hope I hope you enjoy when we get into it. But no, listen, we're gonna embrace the cringe, okay? We love it. We're all about cringe here, so if we get some people who come in and don't know what the fuck's going on, we're just be like, listen, we're listening, we're listening to Peak right now, okay? You just don't understand. What do you mean cringe? Exactly. It's gonna be fun. No, trust. Y'all are gonna surprisingly get into it and be like, damn, I was sitting on a gold mine for this longest time, and you just didn't give it a chance. Never judge a book by its cover or by its content sometimes. Yeah, my cozy reading corner. Speaking of cozy, are you guys ready to actually get into what I have prepared for you guys? Now, it's not a lot, and I definitely did all of this last second, so forgive me, but I I wanted to do a little bit different because we gotta get into the vibe, okay? It's gotta be a whole vibe, it's gotta be a whole thing because why else? Why the fuck else? But alright. Let me show you guys what I have. First off, if we're reading a book about cats, right? They're obviously gonna be out and about, right? Out and about in the forest, right? So we we got our forest background, all right? But hold on, that's not it. That's not all. All right? I also, so that you guys can read along with me, have the book here. All right? There we go. There we go. All right? So we can read along together because God knows I will stumble over my words, and in case you want to actually see what it's being said, you can read ahead of me and just tune me out, honestly. And then what's a little bit of forest without some foresty nature sounds? Huh? Huh? Come on. All my normal viewers are like, Arrow, what are we doing right now? What's going on? My Oshi has lost it. She's fucking out of it. Alright, and then hold on. Alright, we gotta get into the spirit of things, so I got one last thing. The cat, hold on. I gotta find it first. And then we got our ears. So, I think, honestly, we're ready for some fucking warrior cats with all of this shit. Because we got our ambiance, we got our background, and we got our book. So, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun reading this with you guys. I'm crying now. Oh, man. There are worse days. Listen, we're gonna have fun here. Trust. I'm loving it. Well, I'm glad one of y'all's is. I'll thank for the hydrate fan. Appreciate you. Campers being mauled by a bear starts playing. Ah, yes, forest sounds. Feels like I'm really right, doesn't it? Wow, we're so comfy and in the forest. And don't worry. You're in for a treat. I wouldn't read something. Oh. I wouldn't read something that's bad, alright, to you guys. I only have peak taste, you guys know this. We need a cozy nighttime forest scene too. Oh yeah, true, when it's nighttime. But nah, it's gonna be daytime for this one because I don't feel like switching in between. Oh shit. My professor makes us listen to these when we take exams. You do what's best for the others. Well, we got our forest ambiance. So listen, if you're a little sleepy right now, I might honestly put you to sleep. Just gonna say that right now. Warrior cat, why does that sound familiar? Huh, I wonder. No, trust, it's really good. It's really good. What's the little guy in the bottom right? That's my TTS bot. So you can actually use channel points to talk through him. And, I mean, I can imagine when I'm reading, somebody's gonna say some fuck shit, so. But before we start, I'm gonna give you guys one last warning. This is a reading stream. I've never done one of these before. This is gonna be my first time actually reading anything to you guys live. I have other shit planned, like reading some ASMR scripts, but those are recorded. This is the first time we're gonna fucking do it live. So buckle in, get your snacks, get whatever you need to chill out. If you need a lurk, go ahead and lurk. And we're gonna be breeding some warrior cats today, so I hope you guys really enjoy it. And if you guys get into it, please stop me, ask me questions. I can't promise I remember everything, but if you're like, what the fuck does this mean? We can talk about it. It's gonna be fun. As read by TTS Snake. Is that a god? It is based off of one Fen. Good catch. My celestial design, so to say, is based off of some gods that are already existing. If I actually have a lore video out, if you guys are interested on how the fuck I became what you see on your screen, check out the YouTube, and it's pretty cool, and you actually get to see the celestial design. So pretty cool. Hello, Rez. How you doing? Welcome in. Hello. Oh. Nothing says cozy story time without my, yeah, I got my body pillow, we got our cozy ambiance, and now we're gonna be reading a goofy little series. It's actually pretty good. Alright, I'm gonna gas it up because it actually is a good series, so I hope you guys... Ah! Mia! 420 vid? Yeah, my YouTube needs some refreshing. I got some older videos on there, but I know the lore videos at least up there. Today was not very cash money. Aw, I'm sorry, Captain. Welcome in. How you doing? I hope your day gets better, homie. We're gonna be doing some reading, so get ready. Got back from the market, got some fresh shrimp. Hell yeah. Instead of meow, it was supposed to be. Okay, I already know I'm gonna stumble a lot of my words because I'm just bad at English in general, so please cut me some slack. Please. Please just ignore my very bad English, okay? I'm trying here. And I hope you enjoy your food, Mark. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, homie. Alright. Are we fucking ready? Oh god. Alright. It is now time to dive into the wonderful world of warrior cats. You guys are just getting here. The very beginning. This is the very first book. So I hope you guys are fucking ready. Time to judge absolutely every mistake you make. I'd make a lot of them too, probably. Listen, popcorn reading or just reading in general, I always hated doing in class. I'm also not good at voicing characters, so if you see me doing lines and I'm actually trying, listen, I'm not good at voice acting, so I'm gonna try my best to try to differentiate voices, but it's probably just gonna be my same monotone voice. Alright! It's time. Who discovered milk? Who saw a cow and said, let's tug on that thing and drink it? I mean, listen. We do it to titties on a person anyways. Also, I prefer none. Just letting you know. Welcome in, Smart. Alright. You guys ready? Okay. I need to lock in, actually. And learn English real quick. Alright, this is Warrior Cats Into the Wild. It's the first book. There is a little bit of a prologue, whatever the fuck, however you say it. I'm also gonna show, this is just for reference if you're watching back the stream and you're like, hey, in case we do voice act these characters, let me take a look. So these are all the characters we're gonna be introduced to. They're different clans within the series. So the one that we focus on the most is the Thunderclan. That's what we're going to be starting off in. And here are all of the characters and their descriptions. They're very vague, but you can kind of guess. Mind you, these are fucking cats, so keep that in mind. But we got the leader, who's Blue Star, the deputy, Red Tail, medicine cat is Spotted Leaf, and then we got our warriors. We got our apprentices, who are basically training to become warriors. Queens are just the baby mamas, and then, or the, sorry, I should say the ones with, literal children, and then the elders. So it's kind of what the base is for all of the clans. They kind of have this structure going on. Prologue? What about an amateur log? God damn it. Oh, prologue, god damn it. Thunderclan, like the Thunder Rangers, like Power Rangers. Yeah, secretly, this is a fanfic about Power Rangers. Then we got the Shadow Clan. It'll start going into each of these characters, so you don't have to remember every single person here, or sorry, cat here, but just keep in mind. Then we only get a little bit of Wind Clan. River Clan, we get like 2. And then outside cats. Outside the clan. What does Lion-O come in? Lion-O? You mean Lionheart? Is that what you meant? These English names make me realize how lackluster the Finnish translations are, because they had to make them make sense. Yeah, they're not all the you know, the most complex, but hey, they try. Now you gotta remember all of them. There's a quiz! Listen, there's gonna be a pop quiz on Friday. Alright, so you guys better pay attention to who's talking to who and what color their fur is, alright? Okay. So yeah, that's basically the characters. If you're interested when we're reading, you're like, yo, this character's kind of cool. You can, I don't know if that's who you want to voice. Fuck it, look back, I guess. When's the Warrior Cats Kahoot? Actually, really good idea. I might actually make a Kahoot, so you guys actually better pay attention. This is now book club, alright? This is Arrow's Homestuck and no one can tell me otherwise. Oh no, that was Undertale for me. Which warrior clan are you in quiz? Yo! Also, the maps aren't too important. I guess I could show you, hold on. Warrior Cats map. Let me see. Okay, so, oh fuck. So this, if you, for my visual peeps, okay? Ah! Bye! For my visual peeps, which this is kind of unimportant because we're reading and you're not going to see any of this ever again. This is just here for my people who like to see it. We start off here, alright? And then we kind of bounce around, so that's all I'm going to explain. Just good luck, I guess. No Kahoot? No, yes Kahoot. I'm not remembering shit for this quiz. Put an F on my card now. But yeah, there is a whole, like, geographical layout of where each clans go. There's, like, important, like, sites of grace, I guess you could call it, for gamer knowledge. So, yeah, it has lore. All of this is lore. So... There's different symbols for each clan. Oh, you guys aren't ready, alright? Sites of grace? Yeah. Also, there's a... I don't know, a different version of the map, I guess, but just a 2D overlay instead of 3D. Fucking Naruto clans of cats. No, actually, though. Actually. Hold on, let me... There we go. That should be perfect for you guys. Okay! Are we fucking ready for Warrior Cats? The Elden Ring! They must be the Elden Cat. Kinda sounds like Fairy Tail, but with cat clans instead of guilds. Except they don't have powers, and they're kinda just regular cats. Also, welcome in, Zilly. Here's a coat. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll put my coat on. Nice and cozy. The village hidden in the catnip. Clans are just towns. Yeah, basically. They're just towns. They're different places, and each cat has a clan. Well, most cats have a clan. You'll understand soon enough. Alright. I'm kind of nervous. Why? I'm just reading. I'm not used to this. Okay. I take a big sip. This is your final warning. We are going to be reading. So, if reading's not your thing, and you're not interested in the wonderful world of warrior cats, then this might not be the stream for you. But we're fucking doing this. This is giving you let the horse girl yap about her special interests and you're scared to walk away. No, trust me. Listen, I know this sounds so cringe and so like, Arrow, what the fuck are you doing? But trust me, it's actually a good series once you get into it. You get attached to characters, okay? And you just trust me on this one, alright? Believe in me. Also, Noah, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. Gotta lock in. Yes, you gotta lock in. I can't read. I'm a bot. God damn it. I'm lurking both you and vexing. We're locked in. Let's do this. Hell yeah. No, there's a quiz for my book though. Also, listen, if Vexy is live right now and reading, definitely go in and watch her if you need a more professional reader. I stumble over my words, so just be prepared. Right, read the book right, meow. Okay. Let's fucking start. I'm so excited, actually, and I know I'm gonna fuck up my words, but fuck it. Let's get into it! This is Warrior Cats Into the Wild. I'm gonna try to keep my shit highlighted when I'm reading, but when I get into the groove of it, I might just lose track, so just be aware. A half moon glowed on smooth granite boulders, turning them silver. The The silence was broken only by the ripple of water from the swift black river and the whisper of trees in the forest beyond. There was a stirring in the shadows, and from all around lithe, dark shapes crept stealthily over the rocks. Unsheathed claws glinted in the moonlight. Wary eyes flashed like amber, and then, as if on a silent signal, the creatures leaped at each other, and suddenly the rocks were alive with wrestling, screeching cats. At the center of the frenzy of fur and claws, a massive dark tabby pinned a bracken-colored Tom to the ground and drew up his head triumphantly. "Oakheart," the tabby growled, "how dare you hunt in our territory? The Sunning Rocks belong to Thunderclan. After tonight, Tiger Claw, this will be just another RiverClan hunting ground," the bracken-colored Tom spat back. A warning yowl came from the shore, shrill and anxious. "Look out, more RiverClan warriors are coming." Tiger Claw turned to see sleek, wet bodies sliding out of the water below the rocks. The drenched RiverClan warriors bounded silently up the shore and hurled themselves into battle, without even stopping to shake the water from their fur. The dark tabby glared down at Oakheart. "You may swim like otters, but you and your warriors do not belong in the forest." He drew back his lips and showed his teeth as the cat struggled beneath him. The desperate scream of a Thunderclan she-cat rose above the clamor. A wiry RiverClan Tom had pinned the brown warrior flat on her belly. Now he lunged toward her neck, with jaws still dripping from his swim across the river. Tiger Claw heard the cry and let go of Oakheart. With a mighty leap, he knocked the enemy warrior away from the she-cat. "Quick, Mousefur, run!" he ordered before turning on the RiverClan Tom, who had threatened her. Mousefur scrambled to her paws, wincing from a deep gash on her shoulder, and raced away. Behind her, Tiger Claw spat with rage as the RiverClan Tom sliced open his nose. Blood blinded him for an instant, but he lunged forward regardless and sank his teeth into the hind leg of his enemy. The RiverClan cat squealed and struggled free. "Tiger Claw!" the yowl came from a warrior with a tail as red as fox fur. "This is useless. There are too many RiverClan warriors." "No, Redtail. ThunderClan will never be beaten." Tiger Claw yowled back, leaping to Redtail's side. "This is our territory." Blood was welling around his broad black muzzle, and he shook his head impatiently, scattering scarlet drops onto the rocks. "ThunderClan will honor your courage, Tiger Claw, but we cannot afford to lose any more of our warriors," Redtail urged. "Bluestar would never expect her warriors to fight against these impossible odds. We will have another chance to avenge this defeat." He met Tiger Claw's amber-eye gaze steadily, then reared away and sprang onto a boulder at the edge of the trees. "Retreat, ThunderClan! Retreat!" he yelled. At once, his warriors squirmed and struggled away from their opponents. Spitting and snarling, they backed toward Redtail. For a heartbeat, the RiverClan cats looked confused. Was this battle so easily won? Then Oakheart yowled a jubilant cry. As soon as they heard him, the RiverClan warriors raised their voices and joined their deputy in caterwauling their victory. Redtail looked down at his warriors. With a flick of his tail, he gave the signal, and the ThunderClan cats dived down the far side of the Sunning Rocks, then disappeared into the trees. Tiger Claw followed last. He hesitated at the edge of the forest and glanced back at the blood-stained battlefield. His face was grim, his eyes furious slits. Then he leaped after his clan into the silent forest. In a deserted clearing, an old gray she-cat sat alone, staring up at the clear night sky. All around her in the shadows, she could hear the breathing and stirrings of sleeping cats. A small tortoiseshell she-cat emerged from a dark corner, her paw steps quick and soundless. The gray cat dipped her head in greeting. "How is Mousefur?" she meowed. "Her wounds are deep, Bluestar," answered the tortoiseshell, settling herself on the night-cool grass. "But she is young and strong. She will heal quickly." "And the others?" "They will all recover too." Bluestar sighed. "We are lucky not to have lost any of our warriors this time. You are a gifted medicine cat, Spotted Leaf." She tilted her head again and studied the stars. "I am deeply troubled by tonight's defeat. ThunderClan has not been beaten in its own territory since I became leader," she murmured. "These are difficult times for our clan. The season of New Leaf is late, and there have been fewer kits. ThunderClan needs more warriors if it is to survive." "The year is only just beginning," Spotted Leaf pointed out calmly. "There will be more kits when Greenleaf comes." The gray cat twitched her broad shoulders. "Perhaps, but training our young to become warriors takes time. If ThunderClan is to defend its territory, it must have new warriors as soon as possible." Are you asking StarClan for answers? Meowed Spotted Leaf gently, following Blue Star's gaze and staring up at the swath of stars glittering in the dark sky. It is at times like this we need the words of ancient warriors to help us. Has StarClan spoken to you? Blue Star asked. Not for some moons, Blue Star. Suddenly, a shooting star blazed over the treetops. Spotted Leaf's tail twitched and fur along her spine bristled. Blue Star's ears pricked, but she remained silent as Spotted Leaf continued to gaze upward. After a few moments, Spotted Leaf lowered her head and turned to Blue Star. It was a message from StarClan, she murmured. A distant look came into her eyes. Fire alone can save our clan. Fire, Blue Star echoed, but fire is feared by all the clans. How can it save us? Spotted Leaf shook her head. I do not know, she admitted, but this is a message StarClan has chosen to share with me. The Thunderclan leader fixed her clear blue eyes on the medicine cat. You have never been wrong before, Spotted Leaf, she meowed. If StarClan has spoken, then it must be so. Fire will save our clan. Alright, that was just the prologue. How are we doing? How are we doing? What does a medicine cat do? I thought they were just normal cats. Do they have cat medicine? I can't tell you. I can't tell you, but it does talk about it. Also, who is this mysterious StarClan that just conveniently at the same time managed to give her a message after saying, no, they haven't talked to me in a fat minute. But yes, there is some things we got introduced to here that will be further explained as our new character. Actually, our main character gets introduced in chapter 1, and they'll talk about it. I assume they just licked the other cat's wounds. Nope! There's actual medicine and a religion and structure in these clans, so be ready. Adike, piss on it like a jellyfish sting. Like a true warrior. Get into it. Chapter 1! It was very dark. Rusty could sense something was near. The young tomcat's eyes opened wide as he scanned the dense undergrowth. This place was unfamiliar, but the strange sense drew him onward, deeper into the shadows. His stomach growled, reminding him of his hunger. He opened his jaws slightly to let the warm smells of the forest reach the scent glands on the roof of his mouth. Musty odors of leaf mold mingled with the tempting aroma of a small furry creature. Suddenly, a flash of gray raced past him. Rusty stopped still, listening. It was hiding in the leaves less than 2 tail lengths away. Rusty knew it was a mouse. He could feel the rapid pulsing of a tiny heartbeat of a tiny heart deep within his ear fur. He swallowed, stifling his rumbling stomach. Soon his hunger would be satisfied. Slowly, he lowered his body into position, crouching for the attack. He was downwind of the mouse. He knew it was not aware of him. With one final check on his prey's position, Rusty pushed back hard on his haunches and sprang, kicking up leaves on the forest floor as he rose. The mouse dived for cover, heading toward a hole in the ground, but Rusty was already on top of it. He scooped it into the air, hooking the helpless creature within its thorn-sharp claws, flinging it up high into a high arc onto the leaf-covered ground. The mouse landed dazed, but alive. It tried to run, but Rusty snatched it up again. He tossed the mouse once more, this time a little farther away. The mouse managed to scramble a few paces before Rusty caught up with it. Suddenly, a noise roared nearby. Rusty looked around, and as he did, the mouse was able to pull away from his claws. When Rusty turned back, he saw it dart into the darkness among the tangled roots of a tree. Angry, Rusty gave up the hunt. He spun around, his green eyes glaring, intent on searching out the noise that had cost him his kill. The sound rattled on, becoming more familiar. Rusty blinked open his eyes. The forest had disappeared. He was inside a hot and airless kitchen, curled in his bed. Moonlight filtered through the window, casting shadows on the smooth, hard floor. The noise had been the rattle of hard, dried pellets of food as they were tipped into his dish. Rusty had been dreaming. Lifting his head, he rested his chin on the side of his bed. His collar rubbed uncomfortably around his neck. In his dream, he had felt fresh air ruffling the soft fur where the collar usually pinched. Rusty rolled onto his back, savoring the dream for a few more moments. He could still smell mouse. It was the 3rd time since full moon that he'd had the dream, and every time the mouse had escaped his grasp. Excuse me, I cannot fucking read. This implies the existence of Cat Jesus. Mayhaps there might be Cat Jesus. The Pussy Pope. Nah. Also, welcome in, Waffle. How you doing? Rusty is rusty. Rusty is rusty. Yeah, he's a house cat. He's not an actual cat. Also, welcome in. We're reading chapter 1 of Warrior Cats, so this is probably not, you know, something you're used to, but we're reading today. All right, back to it. He had been dreaming. Lifting his head, we already read that. He licked his lips. From his bed, he could smell the bland odor of his food. His owners always refilled his dish before they went to bed. The dusty smell chased away the warm sense of his dream, but the hunger rumbled on in his stomach, so Rusty stretched the sleep out of his limbs and padded across the kitchen floor to his dinner. The food felt dry and tasteless on his tongue. Rusty reluctantly swallowed one more mouthful, then he turned away from the food dish and pushed his way out through the cat flap, hoping that the smell of the garden would bring back the feelings of his dream. Outside, the moon was bright. It was raining lightly. Rusty stalked down the tidy garden, following the starlit gravel path, feeling the stones cold and sharp beneath his paws. He made his dirt He made his dirt beneath a large bush with glossy green leaves and heavy purple flowers. Their sickly sweet scent cloyed the damp air around him, and he curled his lip to drive the smell out of his nostrils. Afterward, Rusty settled down on top of one of the posts in the fence that marked the limits of his garden. It was a favorite spot of his, as he could see right into the neighbors' gardens as well as into the dense green forest on the other side of the garden fence. The rain had stopped. Behind him, the close-cropped lawn was bathed in moonlight, but beyond his fence, the woods were full of shadows. Rusty stretched his head forward to take a sniff of the damp air. His skin was warm and dry under his thick coat, but he could feel the weight of the raindrops that sparkled on his ginger fur. He heard his owners giving one last call from the back door. If he went to them now, they would greet him with gentle words and caresses and welcome him onto their bed, where he would curl, purring, warm in the crook of a bent knee. But this time, Rusty ignored his owner's voices and turned his gaze back to the forest. The crisp smell of the woods had grown fresher after the rain. Suddenly, the fur on his spine prickled. Was something moving out there? Was something watching him? Rusty stared ahead, but it was impossible to see or smell anything in the dark tree-scented air. He lifted his chin boldly, stood up, and stretched, one paw gripping each corner of the fence post as he straightened his legs and arched his back. He closed his eyes and breathed in the smell of the woods once more. It seemed to promise him something, tempting him onward into the whispering shadows. Tensing his muscles, he crouched for a moment. Then he leaped lightly down into the rough grass on the other side of the garden fence. As he landed, the bell on his collar rang out through the still night air. "Where are you off to, Rusty?" meowed a familiar voice behind him. Rusty looked up. A young black and white cat was bouncing ungracefully on the fence. "Hello, Smudge," Rusty replied. "You're not going into the woods, are you?" Smudge's amber eyes were huge. "Just for a look," Rusty promised, shifting uncomfortably. "You wouldn't get me in there. It's dangerous." Smudge wrinkled his black nose with distaste. Henry said he went into the woods once. The cat lifted his head and gestured with his nose over the rows of fences toward the garden where Henry lived. The fat old tabby never went into the woods. "Oh, that fat old tabby never went into the woods," Rusty scoffed. "He's hardly been beyond his own garden since his trip to the vet. All he wants to do is eat and sleep." "No, really, he caught a robin there," Smudge insisted. "Well, if he did, then it was before the vet. Now he complains about birds because they disturb his dozing." "Well, anyway," Smudge went on, ignoring the scorn in Rusty's meow, "Henry told me there are all sorts of dangerous animals out there. Huge wildcats who eat live rabbits for breakfast and sharpen their claws on old bones. I'm only going for a look around," Rusty meowed. "I won't stay long." "Well, don't say I didn't warn ya," purred Smudge. The black and white cat turned and plunged off the fence back down into his own garden. Excuse me, let me rehydrate my throat. I got a feeling there's gonna be a missing cat poster. Also for my fellow peeps who have cats or have animals, This bitch got a full bowl of food. He has a nice warm bed. And then he says, I'm fucking out this hoe. Why do animals do that? Come on, man. You can't just enjoy your life. What age rating is this? I have no clue. Age rating, cat. It talks about blood and like actual fighting, so it says 8 and up. So if I struggle to read, that's just a me. That's a me issue. But that could be the AI overview, alright? That is the AI overview. It says early teens, so 10 to 12, maybe. Which is probably around the age I did start reading this. It was in middle school. He got his balls cut off. He probably did. Yeah. Rip. I go look for a nice bowl of food, and this guy's living his life. I appreciate you, Space. Thank you. We don't get some Watership Down S-type story. I can't say nothing about it. But there are some themes in this book that do get a little heavy, just gonna say. At least from what I remember. Okay, sorry. Sorry for the interruption. I need a drink. Rusty sat down in the coarse grass beyond the garden fence. He gave his shoulder a nervous lick and wondered how much of Smudge's gossip was true. Suddenly, the movement of a tiny creature caught his eye. He watched it scuttle under some brambles. Instinct made him drop into a low crouch. With one slow paw after another, he drew his body forward through the undergrowth. Ears pricked, nostrils flared. Eyes unblinking, he moved toward the animal. He could see it clearly now, sitting up among the barbed branches, nibbling on a large seed held between its paws. It was a mouse. Rusty rocked his haunches from side to side, preparing to leap. He held his breath in case his bell rang again. Excitement coursed through him, making his heart pound. This was even better than his dreams. Then a sudden noise of cracking twigs and crunching leaves made him jump. His bell jangled treacherously, and the mouse darted away into the thickest tangle of the bramble bush. Rusty stood very still and looked around. He could see the white tip of a red bushy tail trailing through a clump of tall ferns up ahead. He smelled a strong, strange scent, definitely a meat-eater, but neither cat nor dog. Distracted, Rusty forgot about the mouse and watched the red tail curiously. He wanted a better look. All of Rusty's senses strained ahead as he prowled forward. Then he detected another noise. It came from behind, but sounded muted and distant. He swiveled his ears backward to hear it better. Paw steps? He wondered, but he kept his eyes fixed on the strange red fur up ahead and continued to creep onward. It was only when the faint rustling behind him became loud and fast-approaching leaf crackle that Rusty realized he was in danger. The creature hit him like an explosion, and Rusty was thrown sideways into a clump of nettles. Twisting and yowling, he tried to throw off the attacker that had fastened itself to his back. It was gripping him with incredibly sharp claws. Rusty could feel his spiked teeth pricking at his neck. He writhed and squirmed from whisker to tail, but he couldn't free himself. For a second, he felt helpless. Then he froze. Thinking fast, he flipped over onto his back. He knew instinctively how dangerous it was to expose his soft belly, but it was his only chance. He was lucky. The ploy seemed to work. He heard a hoof. He heard a hoof beneath him as the breath was knocked out of his attacker. Thrashing fiercely, Rusty managed to wriggle free. Without looking back, he sprinted toward his home. Behind him, a rush of paw steps told Rusty his attacker was giving chase. Even though the pain from his scratches stung beneath his fur, Rusty decided he would rather turn and fight than let himself be jumped on again. He skidded onto a top... oh my god, y'all, I can't fucking read, Jesus. He skidded to a stop, spun around, and faced his pursuer. It was another kitten with a thick coat of shaggy gray fur, strong legs, and a broad face. In a heartbeat, Rusty smelled that it was a tom, and sensed the power in the sturdy shoulders underneath the soft coat. Then the kitten crashed into Rusty at full pelt. Taken by surprise by Rusty's turnabout, it fell back into a dazed heap. The impact knocked the breath out of Rusty, and he staggered. He quickly found his footing and arched his back, puffing out his orange fur, ready to spring onto the other kitten, but his attacker simply sat up and began to lick a forepaw, all signs of aggression gone. Rusty felt strangely disappointed. Every part of him was tense, ready for battle. Hi there, kitty pet, meowed the gray Tom cheerily. You put up quite a fit for a tame kitty. Rusty remained on tiptoe for a second, wondering whether to attack anyway. Then he remembered the strength he had felt in this kitten's paws when he had pinned him to the ground. He dropped onto his pads, loosened his muscles, and let his spine unbend. And I'll fight you again if I have to, he growled. I'm Graypaw, by the way, the gray kitten went on, ignoring Rusty's threat. I'm training to be a Thunderclan warrior. Rusty remained silent. He didn't understand what this gray what's-it was meowing about, but he sensed the threat had passed. He hid his confusion by leaning down to lick his ruffled chest. What's a kitty pet like you doing out in the woods? Don't you know it's dangerous? Asked Graypaw. If you're the most dangerous thing in the woods, if you're the most dangerous thing the woods has to offer, then I think I can handle it, Rusty bluffed. Graypaw looked up at him for a moment, narrowing his big yellow eyes. Oh, I'm far from the most dangerous. If I were even half a warrior, I'd have given an intruder like you some real wounds to think about. Rusty felt a thrill of fear at these ominous words. What did this mean by intruder? Anyway, meowed Graypaw, using his sharp teeth to tug a clump of grass from between his claws. I didn't think it was worth hurting you. You're obviously not from one of the other clans. Other clans? Rusty echoed, confused. Graypaw let out an impatient hiss. You must have heard of the 4 warrior clans that hunt around here. I belong to Thunderclan. The other clans are always trying to steal prey from our territory, especially ShadowClan. They're so fierce, they would have ripped you to shreds, no questions asked. Graypaw paused to spit angrily and continued. They come to take prey that is rightfully ours. It's the job of the Thunderclan warriors to keep them out of our territory. When I've finished my training, I'll be so dangerous I'll have the other clans shaking in their flea-bitten skins. They won't dare come near us then. Rusty narrowed his eyes. This must be one of the wildcats Smudge had warned him about. Living rough in the woods, hunting and fighting each other for every last scrap of food. Yet, Rusty didn't feel scared. In fact, it was hard not to admire this confident kitten. So, you're not a warrior yet? He asked. Why? Did you think I was? Graypaw purred proudly. Then he shook his head. Then he shook his wide, furry head. I won't be a real warrior for ages. I have to go through training first. Kids have to be 6 moons old before they even begin training. Tonight is my first night out as an apprentice. Why don't you find yourself an owner with a nice cozy house instead? Your life would be so much easier. Rusty meowed. There are plenty of housefolk who'd take in a kitten like you. All you have to do is sit where they can see you and look hungry for a couple days. And they'd feed me pellets that look like rabbit droppings and soft slop, Graypaw interrupted. No way. I can't think of anything worse than being a kitty pet. They're nothing but 2-legged toys. Eating stuff that doesn't look like food, making dirt in a box of gravel, sticking their noses outside only when the 2 legs allow them. That's no life. Out here it's wild and it's free. We come and go as we please. He finished his speech with a proud spit, then meowed mischievously. Until you've tasted a fresh killed mouse, you haven't lived. Have you ever tasted a mouse? No, Rusty admitted, a little defensively. Not yet. I guess you'll never understand, Graypaw sighed. You weren't born wild. It makes a big difference. You need to be born with warrior blood in your veins, or the feel of the wind in your whiskers. Kitties born into 2-legged nests could never feel the same way. Rusty remembered the way he had felt in his dream. That's not true, he meowed indignantly. Graypaw did not reply. He suddenly stiffened mid-lick, one paw still raised, and sniffed the air. I smell cats from my clan, he hissed. You should go. They won't be pleased to find you hunting in our territory. Rusty looked around, wondering how Graypaw knew any cat was approaching. He couldn't smell anything different on the leaf-scented breeze, but his fur stood on end at the note of urgency in Graypaw's voice. Quick, hissed Graypaw. Run. Rusty prepared to spring into the bushes, not knowing which way was safe to jump. He was too late. A voice meowed behind him, firm and menacing. What's going on here? Rusty turned to see a large gray she-cat strolling majestically out from the undergrowth. She was magnificent. White hair streaked her muzzle, and an ugly scar parted the fur across her shoulders. but her smooth gray coat shone like silver in the moonlight. Blue Star! Beside Rusty, Greyclaw crouched down and narrowed his eyes. He crouched even lower when a second cat, a handsome golden tabby, followed the gray cat into the clearing. You shouldn't be so near Two-Leg Place, Greypaw, growled growled the golden tabby angrily, narrowing his green eyes. I know, Lionheart. I'm sorry. Greypaw looked down at his paws. Rusty copied Greypaw and crouched low to the forest floor, his ears twitching nervously. These cats had an air of strength he had never seen in any of his garden friends. Maybe what Smudge had warned him about was true. Who is this? Asked the she-cat. Rusty flinched as she turned her gaze on him. Her piercing blue eyes made him feel even more vulnerable. He's no threat, meowed Greypaw quickly. He's not another clan warrior, just a two-leg pet from beyond our territories. Just a two-leg pet! The words inflamed Rusty, but he held his tongue. The warning look in Blue Star's stare told him that she had observed the anger in his eyes, and he looked away. This is Blue Star. She's leader of my clan. Greypaw hissed to Rusty under his breath. And Lionheart, he's my mentor, which means he's training me to be a warrior. Thank you for the introduction, Greypaw, meowed Lionheart coolly. Blue Star was still staring at Rusty. You fight well for a two-legged pet, she meowed. Rusty and Greypaw exchanged confused glances. How could she know? We have been watching you both, Blue Star went on, as she had read their thoughts. We wondered how you would deal with an intruder, Greypaw. You attacked him bravely. Greypaw looked pleased at Blue Star's praise. Sit up now, both of you. Blue Star looked at Rusty. You too, kitty pet. He sat up immediately and held Blue Star's gaze evenly as she addressed him. You reacted well to the attack, kitty pet. Greypaw is stronger than you, but you used your wits to defend yourself, and you turned to face him when he chased you. I've not seen a kitty pet do that before. Rusty managed to nod his thanks, taken aback by such unexpected praise. Her next words surprised him even more. I have been wondering how you would perform out here, beyond the two-leg place. We patrol this border frequently, so I have often seen you sitting on your boundary, staring out into the forest. And now, at last, you have dared to place your paws here. Blue Star stared at Rusty thoughtfully. You do seem to have a natural hunting ability. Sharp eyes. You would have caught that— oh wait, sharp eyes. You would have caught that mouse if you had not hesitated so long. Really? Rusty stammered. Lionheart spoke now. His deep meow was respectful but insistent. Blue Star, this is a kitty pet. He should not be hunting in Thunderclan territory. Send him home to his two legs. Rusty prickled at Lionheart's dismissive words. Send me home? He meowed impatiently. Blue Star's words had made him glow with pride. She had noticed him. She had been impressed by him. But I've only come here to hunt for a mouse or two. I'm sure there's enough to go around. Blue Star had turned her head to acknowledge Lionheart's words. Now her gaze snapped back to Rusty. Her blue eyes were blazing with anger. There's never enough to go around, she spat. If you didn't live such a soft, overfed life, you would know that. Rusty was confused by Blue Star's sudden rage, but one glance at the horrified look on Greypaw's face was enough to tell him he had spoken too freely. Lionheart stepped to his leader's side. Both warriors loomed over him now. Rusty looked into Blue Star's threatening stare, and his pride dissolved. These were not cozy fireside cats he was dealing with. They were mean, hungry cats who were probably going to finish what Greypaw had started. First chapter done! What do we think? What do you think? Thoughts? I need your thoughts. All the dudes Toms and the female she-cats? Yes! I don't know if you've ever heard of like the saying like Tomcat or something like that, but it is an actual like saying out there. But yes, the guys are Toms. She-cats obviously are the girls. Isn't that kind of the norm? What's kind of the norm? Sound like the start to a different kind of book for a second? What you mean? I think that there were a lot of books about sentient cats during the day. Were there? I don't remember. I remember this one being the big one that everybody was like really hooked on. This is only the beginning. It starts off slow, but I promise you it picks up once we actually get to where we need to be. Book of Moon. I also remember Book of Moon. Book of Moon is probably where a lot of shit went down. Better than I thought it would be. I'm kind of locked in. You guys will enjoy it, I think. And like, yeah, it's not like some very like, I don't know, rare or like you've never seen this kind of thing done before. It's been done many times, but the way this Arthur, in my mind, has done this, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I would think you guys will enjoy it. We're only in the first chapter though. We just finished first one. Second one, what's gonna happen to our boy Rusty? I also like how they use like kitty pet and like the two legs kind of slurs a little bit. He's just a kitty pet. He wouldn't know any better. I think it's interesting some of the words she uses to describe some things. Two legs being the humans and stuff like that. So interesting. I thought I saw ad break coming up, but not the cat slurs. You kitty pet. It's interesting. I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. It's you'll see. You'll see. We'll get more into it. But alright. If ad break does come up, I will take a second. I thought I saw it come up, but I will just keep reading until I see it come up. Alright, that was chapter 1. We are now moving into chapter 2. Let me take a sip real quick. Chapter 2. Alright. Well, hissed Blue Star, her face only a mouse length away from his now. Lionheart remained silent as he towered over Rusty. He flattened his ears and crouched under the Golden Warrior's cold stare. His fur prickled uncomfortably. I am no threat to your clan, he meowed, looking down at his trembling paws. You threaten our clan when you take our food, yowled Blue Star. You have plenty of food in your two-leg nest already. You come here only to hunt for sport, but we hunt to survive. The truth of the warrior queen's words pierced Rusty like a black thorn, and suddenly he understood her anger. He stopped trembling, sat up, and straightened his ears. He raised his eyes to meet hers. I had not thought of it that way before. I'm sorry. He meowed solemnly. I will not hunt here again. Blue Star let her hackles fall and signaled to Lionheart to step back. You are an unusual kitty pat, Rusty, she meowed. Graypaw's sigh of relief made Rusty's ears twitch. He heard the approval in Blue Star's voice, and noticed as she swapped a meaningful glance with Lionheart. The look made him curious. What flashed between the two warriors? Quietly he asked, Is survival here really so hard? Our territory covers only part of the forest, answered Blue Star. We compete with other clans for what we have, and this year, late New Leaf means prey is scarce. Is your clan very big? Rusty meowed, his eyes wide. Big enough, replied Blue Star. Our territory can support us, but there is no prey left over. Are you all warriors, then? Rusty meowed. Blue Star's guarded answers were just making him more and more curious. Lionheart answered him. Some are warriors, some are too young or too old, or too busy caring for kits to hunt. And you all live and share prey together? Rusty murmured in awe, thinking a little guiltily of his own easy, selfish life. Blue Star looked again at Lionheart. The golden tabby stared back at her steadily. At last she returned her gaze to Rusty and meowed. Perhaps you should find out these things for yourself. Would you like to join Thunderclan? Rusty was so surprised he couldn't speak. Blue Star went on. If you did, you would train with Graypaw to become a clan warrior. But kitty pets can't be warriors, Graypaw blurted out. They don't have warrior blood. A sad look clouded Blue Star's eyes. Warrior blood, she echoed with a sigh. Too much of that has been spilled lately. Blue Star fell silent and Lionheart meowed. Blue Star is only offering you training, young kit. There is no guarantee you would become a full warrior. It might prove too difficult for you. After all, you are used to a comfortable life. Excuse me, I don't know why I stumble over my words. Rusty was stung by Lionheart's words. He swung his head around to face the golden tabby. Why offer me a chance then? But it was Blue Star who answered. You are right to question our motives, young one. The fact is, ThunderClan needs more warriors. Understand that Blue Star does not make this offer lightly, warned Lionheart. If you wish to train with us, we will have to take you into our clan. You must either live with us and respect our ways, or return to your two-leg place and never come back. You cannot live with a paw in each world. A cool breeze stirred the undergrowth, ruffling Rusty's fur. He shivered, not with the cold, but with excitement at the incredible possibilities opening up in front of him. Are you wondering if it's worth giving up your comfortable kitty pet life? Asked Blue Star gently. Do you realize the price you will pay for your warmth and food? Rusty looked at her, puzzled. Surely his encounter with these cats had proved to him just how easy and luxurious his life was. I can tell that you are still a Tom, Blue Star added, despite the two-leg stench that clings to your fur. What do you mean, still a Tom? You haven't yet been taken by the two legs to see the cutter. Okay, I forgot about this. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Thank you, thank you. They really can make slurs out of anything. Yep, they can. So, the cats know about the cutter. Okay. You haven't been taken by the two legs to see the cutter, meowed Blue Star gravely. You would be very different then. Not quite so keen to fight a clan cat, I suspect. Rusty was confused. He suddenly thought of Henry. He had become fat and lazy since his visit to the vet. Was that what Blue Star meant by the cutter? The clan may not be able to offer you such easy food or warmth, continued Blue Star. In the season of Leaf Bear, nights in the forest can be cruel. The clan will demand great loyalty and hard work. A cool breeze stirred the undergrowth, ruffling Rusty's fur. He shivered, not with the cold, but with excitement at the incredible possibilities opening up in front of him. Are you wondering if it's worth giving up your comfortable kitty pet life? Asked Blue Star gently. Do you realize the price you will pay for your warmth and food? Rusty looked at her puzzled. Surely his encounter with these cats had proved to him just how easy and luxurious his life was. I could tell that you still are a Tom, Blue Star added, despite the two-leg stench that clings to your fur. What do you mean, still a Tom? You haven't yet been taken by the two legs to see the cutter, meowed Blue Star gravely. You would be very different then. Not quite so keen to fight a clan cat, I suspect. Rusty was confused. He suddenly thought of Henry, who had become fat and lazy since his visit to the vet. Was that what Blue Star meant by the cutter? The clan may not be able to offer you such easy food or warmth, continued Blue Star. In the season of Leaf Bear, nights in the forest can be cruel. The clan will demand great loyalty and hard work. You will be expected to protect the clan with your life, if necessary. And there are many mouths to feed, but the rewards are great. You will remain a Tom. You will be trained in the ways of the wild. You will learn what it is to be a real cat. The strength and the fellowship of the clan will always be with you, even when you hunt alone. Rusty's head reeled. Blue Star seemed to be offering him the life he had lived so many times and so tantalizingly in his dreams. But could he live like that for real? Lionheart interrupted his thoughts. Come, Blue Star, let's not waste any more time here. We must be ready to join the other patrol at Moon High. Tigerclaw will wonder what has become of us. He stood up and flicked his tail expectantly. Wait, Rusty meowed. Can I think about your offer? Blue Star looked at him for a long moment and nodded. Lionheart will be here tomorrow at Sun High, she told him. Give him your answer then. Blue Star murmured a low signal, and in a single movement the three cats turned and disappeared into the undergrowth. Rusty blinked. He stared, excited, uncertain, up past the ferns that encircled him, through the canopy of leaves to the stars that glittered in the clear sky. The scent of the clan cat still hung heavy in the evening air, and as Rusty turned and headed for home, he felt a strange sensation inside of him, tugging him back into the depths of the forest. His fur prickled deliciously in the light wind, and the rustling leaves seemed to whisper his name into the shadows. Oh, chapter 2's done! Yay! Alright, we're gonna get on to chapter 3 of Warrior Cats. We're moving along. Alright, let me take one last sip. That morning, as Rusty slept off his night's wanderings, the mouse dream came again, even more vivid than before. Free of his collar, beneath the moon, he stalked the timid creature. But this time, he was aware of being watched. Shining from the shadows of the forest, he saw dozens of yellow eyes. The clan cats had entered his dream world. Rusty woke, blinking in the bright sunshine that was streaming across the kitchen floor. His fur felt heavy and thick with warmth. His food bowl had been topped up, his water bowl rinsed out and filled with bitter-tasting two-leg water. Rusty preferred drinking from puddles outside, but when it was hot or was very thirsty, he had to admit it was easier to lap up the water indoors. Could he really abandon this comfortable life? He ate, then pushed his way out of the cat flap into the garden. The day promised to be warm, and the garden was heavy with the smell of early blossoms. "Hello, Rusty!" meowed a voice from the fence. It was Smudge. "You should have been awake an hour ago. The baby sparrows were out stretching their wings." "Did you catch any?" Rusty asked. Smudge yawned and licked his nose. "Couldn't be bothered. I'd already eaten enough at home. Anyway, why weren't you out earlier? Yesterday you were complaining about Henry sleeping his time away, and today you're not much better yourself." Rusty sat down on the cool earth beside the fence and curled his tail neatly over his front paws. "I was in the woods last night," he reminded his friend. At once he felt the blood stir in his veins and his fur stiffen. Smudge looked down at him, his eyes wide. "Oh yeah, I forgot. How was it? Did you catch anything? Or did anything catch you?" Rusty paused, not sure how to tell his old friend what had happened. "I met some wild cats," he began. "What?" Smudge was clearly shocked. "Did you get into a fight?" "Sort of." Rusty could feel the energy surging through his body again as he recalled the strength and the power of the clan cats. "Were you hurt?" "What happened?" Smudge prompted him eagerly. "There were 3 of them, bigger and stronger than any of us." "And you fought all 3 of them?" Smudge interrupted, his tail twitching with excitement. "No," Rusty meowed hastily. "Just the youngest one. The other 2 came later." "How come they didn't shred you to pieces?" "They just warned me to leave their territory. But then..." Rusty hesitated. "What?" meowed Smudge impatiently. "They asked me to join their clan." Smudge's whiskers quivered disbelievingly. "They did!" Rusty insisted. "Why would they do that?" "I don't know," Rusty admitted. "I think they need extra paws in their clan." "Sounds a bit odd to me," Smudge meowed doubtfully. "I wouldn't trust them if I were you." Rusty looked at Smudge. His black and white friend had never shown any interest in venturing into the woods. He was perfectly content living with his housefolk. He would never understand the restless longing that Rusty's dreams stirred in him night after night. "But I do trust them," Rusty purred softly. "And I've made up my mind. I'm going to join them." Smudge scrambled down from the fence and stood in front of Rusty. "Please don't go, Rusty," he meowed in alarm. "I might never see you again." Rusty nudged him affectionately with his head. "Don't worry, my housefolk will get another cat. You'll get on with him fine. You get along with everyone." "But it won't be the same," Smudge wailed. Rusty twitched his tail impatiently. "That's just the point. If I stay around here till they take me to the cutter, I won't be the same either." Smudge looked puzzled. "The cutter?" he echoed. "The vet," Rusty explained. "To be altered like Henry was." Smudge shrugged and stared down at his paws. "But Henry's all right," he mumbled. "I mean, I know he's a bit lazier now, but he's not unhappy. We could still have fun." Rusty felt his heart fill with sadness at the thought of leaving his friend. "I'm sorry, Smudge. I'll miss you, but I have to go." Smudge didn't reply, but stepped forward and gently touched Rusty's nose with his own. "Fair enough. I can see I can't stop you, but at least let's spend one more morning together." Rusty found himself enjoying the morning even more than usual, visiting his old haunts with Smudge, sharing words with the cats he had grown up with. Every one of his senses felt supercharged, as if he were poised before a huge jump. As Sunhigh approached, Rusty grew more and more impatient to see if Lionheart would really be waiting for him. The idle buzz of meows from his old friends seemed to fade into the background as all his senses strained toward the woods. Rusty jumped down from his garden fence for the last time and crept into the woods. He had said his goodbyes to Smudge. Now all his thoughts were focused on the forest and the cats who lived in it. As he approached the spot where he had met with the clan cats the night before, he sat down and tasted the air. Tall trees shielded the ground from the midday sunshine, making it comfortably cool. Here and there, a patch of sunlight shone through a gap in the leaves and lit the forest floor. Rusty could smell the same cat scent as last night, but he had no idea whether it was old or new. He lifted his head and sniffed uncertainly. You have a lot to learn, meowed a deep voice. Even the tiniest clan kit knows when another cat is nearby. Rusty saw a pair of green eyes glinting from beneath a bramble bush. Now he recognized the scent. It was Lionheart. Can you tell if I'm alone? Asked the golden tabby, stepping into the light. Hastily, Rusty sniffed again. The scents of Blue Star and Greypaw were still there, but not as strong as the previous night. Hesitantly, he meowed, Blue Star and Greypaw aren't with you this time. That's right, meowed Lionheart, but someone else is. Rusty stiffened as a second clan cat strode into the clearing. This is White Storm, purred Lionheart, one of the Thunderclan's senior warriors. Rusty looked at the Tom and felt his spine tingle with cold fear. Was this a trap? Long-bodied and muscular, White Storm stood in front of Rusty and gazed down at him. His white coat was thick and unmarked, and his eyes were the yellow of sun-baked sand. Rusty flattened his ears warily and tensed his muscles in preparation for a fight. Relax, before your fear scent brings unwanted attention, growled Lionheart. We are here only to take you to our camp. I read that right. I don't know why I doubted myself. Errol wants her chat to meow for her. She said to herself, yeah. I'm gonna give the most monotone voices no matter circumstances, and then every sentence end it with a yeah. Okay. You know what? That might actually work out. Smudge needs to sit his ass down and let my man speak. Literally, Smudge, hush. Alright, sorry. Rusty sat very still, hardly daring to breathe, as White Storm stretched his nose forward and gave him a curious sniff. Hello, young one, murmured the white cat. I've heard a lot about you. Rusty dipped his head in greeting. Come, we can speak more once we are in the camp, ordered Lionheart, and without pausing, he and White Storm leaped away into the undergrowth. Rusty jumped to his paws and followed as quickly as he could. The two warriors made no allowances for Rusty as they sped through the forest, and before long he was struggling to keep up. Their pace barely slowed as they led him over fallen trees that they cleared in a single leap, but which Rusty had to scramble over paw by paw. They passed through sharply fragrant pine trees where they had to jump across deep gullies churned up by a two-legged tree-eater. From the safety of his garden fence, Rusty had often heard it roaring and snarling in the distance. One gully was too wide to jump, half filled with slimy, foul-smelling water. The clan cats waded through without hesitating. Rusty had never put a paw in water before, but he was determined not to show any signs of weakness, so he narrowed his eyes and followed, trying to ignore the uncomfortable wetness that soaked his belly fur. At last, Lionheart and White Storm paused. Rusty skidded to a halt behind them and stood panting while the two warriors stepped onto a rock that rested on the edge of a small ravine. We are very close to our camp now, meowed Lionheart. Rusty strained to see any signs of life, moving leaves, a glimpse of fur among the bushes below, but his eyes saw nothing except the same undergrowth that covered the rest of the forest floor. Use your nose, you must be able to scent it, hissed White Storm impatiently. Rusty closed his eyes and sniffed. White Storm was right. The scents here were very different from the cat scent he was used to. The air smelled stronger, speaking of many, many different cats. He nodded thoughtfully and announced, I can smell cats. Lionheart and White Storm exchanged amused looks. There will come a time, if you are accepted into the clan, when you will know each cat scent by name, Lionheart meowed. Follow me. He led the way nimbly down the boulders to the bottom of the ravine, and pushed his way through a thick patch of gorse. Rusty followed, and White Storm took up the rear. As his sides scraped against the prickly gorse, Rusty looked down and noticed that the grass beneath his paws was flattened into a broad, strong-smelling track. This must be the main entrance into the camp, he thought. Beyond the gorse, a clearing opened up. The ground at the center was bare, hard earth shaped by many generations of paw steps. This camp had been here a long time. The clearing was dappled by sunshine, and the air felt warm and still. Rusty looked around, his eyes wide. There were cats everywhere, sitting alone or in groups, sharing food or purring quietly as they groomed one another. Just another sun high when the day is hottest is a time for sharing tongues, Lionheart explained. Sharing tongues? Rusty echoed. Clan cats always spend time grooming each other and sharing the news of the day, Whitestorm told him. We call it sharing tongues. It is a custom that binds the members of the clan together. The cats had obviously smelled Rusty's foreign scent, for heads began to turn and stare curiously into his direction. Suddenly shy of meeting any cat's gaze directly, Rusty looked around the clearing. It was edged with thick grass, dotted with tree stumps and a fallen tree. A thick curtain of ferns and gorse shielded the camp from the rest of the woods. Over there, meowed Lionheart, flicking his tail toward an impenetrable-looking tangle of brambles, is the nursery, where the cats are cared for. Rusty swiveled his ears toward the bushes. He couldn't see the knot of prickly branches, but he could hear the meowing of several kittens from somewhere inside. As he watched, a ginger she-cat squirmed out through a small gap in the front. That must be one of the queens, Rusty thought. A tabby queen with distinctive black markings appeared from around the bramble bush. The two she-cats exchanged a friendly lick between the ears before the tabby slipped inside the nursery, murmuring to the squealing kits. The care of our kits is shared by all of the queens, meowed Lionheart. All cats serve the clan. Loyalty to the clan is the first law in our warrior code, a lesson you must learn quickly if you wish to stay with us. Here comes Bluestar, meowed Whitestorm, sniffing the air. Rusty sniffed the air too, and was pleased that he was able to recognize the scent of the gray she-cat, a moment before she appeared from the shadow of a large boulder that lay beside them at the head of the clearing. He came, Bluestar purred, addressing the warriors. Whitestorm replied. Lionheart was convinced he would not. Rusty noticed the tip of Bluestar's tail twitch impatiently. Well, what do you think of him? She asked. He kept up well on the return journey, despite his puny size, Whitestorm admitted. He certainly seems strong for a kitty pet. So is it agreed? Bluestar looked at Lionheart and Whitestorm. Both cats nodded. Then I shall announce his arrival to the clan. Bluestar leaped up onto the boulder and yowled. Let all those cats old enough to catch their own prey join here beneath the high rock for a clan meeting. Her clear call brought all the cats trotting toward her, emerging like liquid shadows from the edges of the clearing. Rusty stayed where he was, flanked by Lionheart and Whitestorm. The other cats settled themselves below the high rock and looked expectantly up at their leader. Rusty felt a rush of relief as he recognized Grey Paw's thick gray fur among the cats. Beside him sat a young tortoiseshell queen, her black-tipped tail tucked neatly over small white paws. A large dark gray tabby crouched behind them, the black stripes on his fur looking like shadows on a moonlit forest floor. When the cats were still, Bluestar spoke. Thunderclan needs more warriors, she began. Never before have we had so few apprentices in training. It has been decided that Thunderclan will take in an outsider to train as a warrior. Rusty heard indignant mutterings erupt among the clan cats, but Bluestar silenced them with a firm yowl. I have found a cat who is willing to become an apprentice of Thunderclan. Lucky to become an apprentice. Am I saying no, apprentice? Why am I apprentice? Excuse me. I can't read. Apprentice. Jesus, lucky to become an apprentice. Anyways, caterwauled a loud voice above the ripple of shock that spread through the cats. Rusty craned his neck and saw a pale tabby cat standing up and glaring defiantly at the leader. Bluestar ignored the tabby and addressed all of her clan. Lionheart and Whitestorm have met this young cat, and they agree with me that we should train him with the other apprentices. Rusty looked up at Lionheart, then back at the clan, to find all eyes were on him now. His fur prickled, and he swallowed nervously. There was a silence for a moment. Rusty was sure they must all be able to hear his heart pulsing and smell his fear scent. Now a deafening crescendo of caterwauling rose from the crowd. Where does he come from? Which clan does he belong to? What a strange scent he carries. That's not the scent of any clan I know. Then one yowl in particular sounded out above the rest. Look at his collar. He's a kitty pet. It was a pale tabby. Oh, it was the pale tabby again. Once a kitty pet, always a kitty pet. This clan needs wild-born warriors to defend it, not another soft mouth to feed. Lionheart bent down and hissed into Rusty's ear. That tabby is Longtail. He smells your fear. They all do. You must prove to him and the other cats that your fear won't hold you back. But Rusty couldn't move. How could he ever prove to these fierce cats that he wasn't just a kitty pet? The tabby continued to jeer at him. Your collar is a mark of the two legs, and that noisy jingling will make you a poor hunter at best. At worst, it will bring the two legs into our territory, looking for the poor lost kitty pet who fills the woods with his pitiful tinkling. All the cats howled in agreement. Longtail went on, well aware that he had the support of his audience. The noise of your treacherous bell will alert our enemies, even if your two-legged stench doesn't. Lionheart hissed into Rusty's ear once more. Do you back down from a challenge? Rusty still did not move, but this time he was trying to pinpoint Longtail's position. There he was, just behind a dusky brown queen. Rusty flattened his ears, narrowed his eyes, and hissing, leaped through the startled cats to fling himself onto his tormentor. Longtail was completely unprepared for Rusty's attack. He staggered sideways, losing his footing on the hard-baked earth. Filled with rage and desperate to prove himself, Rusty dug his claws deep into the tabby cat's fur and sank in his teeth. No subtle rituals of swiping and boxing preceded this fight. The two cats were locked in a screaming, writhing tussle that flipped and somersaulted around the clearing at the heart of the camp. The other cats had to spring out of the way to avoid the screeching whirlwind of fur. As Rusty scratched and struggled, he was suddenly aware that he felt no fear, only exhilaration. Through the roaring of the blood in his ears, he could hear the cats around them wailing with excitement. Then Rusty felt his collar tighten around his neck. Longtail had gripped it between his teeth and was tugging, and tugging hard. Rusty felt a terrible pressure at his throat. Unable to breathe, he started to panic. He writhed and twisted, but each movement only made the pressure worse. Retching and gulping for air, he summoned up all his strength and tried to pull away from Longtail's grip, and suddenly, with a loud snap, he was free. Longtail tumbled away from him. Rusty scrambled his paws and looked around. Longtail was crouching 3 tail lengths away, and dangling from Longtail's mouth, Rusty saw his collar, mangled and broken. At once, Bluestar leaped down from the high rock and silenced the noisy crowd with a thunderous caterwaul. Rusty and Longtail remained fixed to the spot, gasping for breath. Clumps of fur hung from their ruffled coats. Rusty could feel a cut stinging above his eye. Longtail's left ear was badly torn, and blood dripped down his lean shoulders onto the dusty ground. They stared at each other, their hostility not yet spent. Bluestar stepped forward and took the collar from Longtail. She placed it on the ground in front of her and meowed. The newcomer has lost his 2-leg collar in a battle for his honor. StarClan has spoken its approval. This cat has been released from the hold of his 2-leg owners and is free to join Thunderclan as an apprentice. Rusty looked at Bluestar and solemnly nodded his acceptance. He stood up and stepped forward into a shaft of sunshine, welcoming the warmth on his sore muscles. The pool of light blazed bright on his orange pelt, making his fur glow. Rusty lifted his head proudly and looked at the cats that surrounded him. This time, no cat argued or jeered. He had shown himself to be a worthy opponent in battle. Bluestar approached Rusty and placed the shredded collar on the ground in front of him. She touched his ear gently with her nose. "You look like a brand of fire in the sunlight," she murmured. Her eyes flashed briefly, as if her words had more meaning for her than Rusty knew. "You have fought well." Then she turned to the clan and announced, "From this day forward, until he has earned his warrior name, this apprentice will be called Firepaw, in honor of his flame-colored coat." She stepped back, and with the other cats, waited silently for his next move. Without hesitating, Rusty turned and kicked dust and grass over his collar as though burying his dirt. Longtail growled and limped out of the clearing toward a fern-shaded corner. The cats split into groups, murmuring to each other excitedly. "Hey, Firepaw!" Rusty heard Greypaw's friendly voice behind him. Firepaw! A thrill of pride surged through him at the sound of his new name. He turned to greet He turned to greet the Grey Apprentice with a welcoming sniff. Great fight, Firepaw, meowed Greypaw. Especially for a kitty pet. Longtail's a warrior, although he only finished his training 2 moons ago. That scar you left on his ear won't let him forget you in a hurry. You spoiled his good looks, that's for sure. Thanks, Greypaw, Firepaw replied. He put up quite a fight, though. He licked his front paw and began to wipe clean a deep scratch that stung above his eye. As he watched, he heard his new name again, echoing among the meows of the cats. Firepaw! Hey, Firepaw! Welcome, young Firepaw! Firepaw closed his eyes for a moment and let the voices wash over him. Good name, too, Greypaw meowed approvingly, jolting him awake. Firepaw looked around. Where did Longtail creep off to? I think he was heading towards Spotted Leaf's den. Greypaw tipped his head toward the fern-enclosed corner Longtail had disappeared into. She's our medicine cat. Not bad looking either. Younger and a lot prettier than most. A low yowl next to the 2 cats stopped Greypaw mid-speech. They both turned, and Firepaw recognized the powerful gray tabby cat who had sat behind Greypaw earlier. Darkstripe, meowed Greypaw, dipping his head respectfully. The sleek Tom looked at Firepaw for a moment. Lucky your collar snapped when it did. Longtail's a young warrior, but I can't imagine him being beaten by a kitty pet. He spat the word kitty pet scornfully, then turned and stalked off. Now, Darkstripe, Greypaw hissed to Firepaw under his breath, is neither young nor pretty. Firepaw was about to agree with his new friend when he was interrupted by a warning yowl from an old gray cat sitting at the edge of the clearing. Small Ear smells trouble, Greypaw meowed, immediately alert. Firepaw barely had time to look around before a young cat crashed through the bushes and into the camp. He was skinny and, apart from the white tip of his long, thin tail, jet black from head to toe. Greypaw gasped, That's Ravenpaw. Why is he alone? Where's Tigerclaw? Firepaw looked at Ravenpaw, staggering across the floor of the clearing. He was panting panting heavily. His coat was ruffled and dusty, and his eyes were wild with fear. Who are Ravenpaw and Tigerclaw? Firepaw whispered to Greypaw, as several other cats raced past him to greet the new arrival. Ravenpaw's an apprentice, Tigerclaw's his mentor, Greypaw explained quickly. Ravenpaw went out with Tigerclaw and Redtail at sunrise on a mission against RiverClan, the lucky furball. Redtail? Firepaw echoed, thoroughly confused by all of these names. Bluestar's deputy, hissed Greypaw. But why on earth has Ravenpaw come back alone? He added to himself. He lifted his head to listen as Bluestar stepped forward. Ravenpaw, the she-cat, spoke calmly, but a look of worry clouded her blue eyes. The other cats drew back, curling their lips with anxiety. What has happened? Bluestar jumped onto the high rock and looked down at the trembling cat. Speak, Ravenpaw. Ravenpaw was still struggling for breath, and his sides heaved fitfully, while the dust around him turned red with blood. But still he managed to scramble up onto the high rock and stand beside Bluestar. He turned to the crowd of eager faces that surrounded him, and summoned enough breath to declare, Redtail is dead. Ba ba ba! What? He's dead! Is apprentice... if apprentice is too weird, you can substitute it with something else like novices. True. I don't know why it kept tripping me up, to be honest. Fire, like the prologue. Oh, he's a chosen one. I call voicing Darkstripe. He sounds edgy. He just sounds like a boomer. What are you talking about? It's also going to take some time to get used to all these paw names. Yeah, what they do, I mean, obviously all the paws that you see are apprentices, so they're learning to be warriors, or they're training for that. So they'll be paws for a little bit, but then they'll get their actual names like Redtail or Bluestar or Darkstripe or shit like that. So there's going to be a lot of paws in the beginning. But that was chapter 3. What are we thinking? Redtail is dead. He came back bloodied from war. What is going on? So who's the stereotypical edgy cat? I don't think we've met them yet. But there is a very edgy, very like, I know you guys are probably gonna have him as your top characters in the series. His name, and I'll just tell you all early on, is Scourge. And he wears a spiked collar, and he's an evil motherfucker. And I know you guys are gonna fuck with Scourge. Redtail's a bitch. What do you mean he's dead? Also, who was Redtail? So Redtail was her deputy. If you remember the prologue, whatever the fuck, he got fucked up, basically. He got jumped, and, rip Redtail. We don't really meet him because he dies so early on, but I'm actually really enjoying reading to you guys. I know I struggle here and there, but this is actually a lot of fun. I didn't think I was gonna have so much enjoyment reading this. Thank you for the hydrate, Prince. Gonna need a recap at the end of this? Okay, I got you. Are you guys following along, though, so far? Are you guys understanding what's going on story-wise? We were, a house cat. Homie dreamt about going into the woods. The woods cats were like, yo, join our gang, homie. He's like, alright, fuck it. And now he's there. Generally? Okay. Just to cement everything in your brain. No, I got you. I'll give you the cliff notes. I got you. All you gotta know is he's there, he's training to become a warrior, and on his first fucking day, some bitch rolls in and says, Redtail's dead! And this is his first day, mind you, so it's mostly the names and details that'll trip me up. I will let you know if something is not really that important. Right now, we're just meeting side characters and just characters in general, because everybody's new to us, but you'll get a sense of each character once we continue along. Cliff notes or cliff bars. Fuck you. Alright. Let's continue on. Chapter 4, bitches. Shocked yowls rose from the clan cats and echoed through the forest. Ravenpaw staggered slightly. His right foreleg glistened, wet with blood that flowed from the deep gash on his shoulder. We met 5 RiverClan warriors beside the stream, not far from the Sunning Rocks, he went on shakily. Oakheart was among them. Oakheart? Greypaw gasped beside Firepaw. He is the deputy of RiverClan. He's one of the greatest warriors in the forest. Lucky Ravenpaw. Wish it could have been me. Greypaw was silenced by a fierce glance from the old Grey Tom who had first sensed Ravenpaw's return. Firepaw turned his attention back to Ravenpaw. Redtail warned Oakheart to keep his hunting parties out of Thunderclan territory. He said the next RiverClan warrior to be caught in Thunderclan territory would be killed, but Oakheart would not back down. He said his clan had to be fed whatever we threatened. Ravenpaw paused to wheeze for breath. His wound was still bleeding heavily, and he stood awkwardly to keep the weight off his shoulder. That's when the RiverClan cats attacked. It was hard to see what was happening. The fighting was vicious. I saw Oakheart had Redtail pinned to the ground, but then suddenly Ravenpaw's eyes rolled in his head and he lurched sideways, half scrambling, half falling. He slithered off the high rock and collapsed on the ground below. A ginger queen bounded toward him and crouched at his side. She licked his cheek briefly and called out, Spotted Leaf! Out of the fern-shaded corner trotted the pretty tortoiseshell Firepaw had noticed sitting beside Greypaw earlier. She hurried over to Ravenpaw and meowed for the queen to stand back. Then she used her small pink nose to roll the apprentice over so that she could take a good look at the wound. She glanced up and meowed, It's all right, Goldenflower. His wounds aren't fatal, but I'll need to fetch some cobwebs and stop the bleeding. And Spotted Leaf sprinted back to her den. The hushed silence in the clearing was broken by a mournful howl. All eyes turned to the direction it had come from. A massive dark brown tabby staggered through the gorse tunnel. Between his sharp teeth, the warrior held not prey, but the lifeless body of another cat. He dragged the tattered creature into the center of the clearing. Firepaw craned his neck and glimpsed a flash of bright ginger tail hanging limply in the dust. Shock rippled through the clan like a chill breeze. Beside Firepaw, Greypaw dropped into a crouch as grief swept over him. Redtail! How did this happen, Tigerclaw? Demanded Bluestar from her position on the high rock. Tigerclaw let the scruff of Redtail's neck fall from his mouth. He looked steadily back at Bluestar. He died with honor, struck down by Oakheart. I couldn't save him, but I managed to take Oakheart's life while he was still gloating over his victory. Tigerclaw's voice was strong and deep. Redtail's death was not in vain, for I doubt we'll see RiverClan hunters in our territory again. Firepaw glanced at Greypaw. The apprentice's eyes were dark with sadness. After a moment's pause, several of the cats moved forward to lick Redtail's what? The fuck word is that? Bedraggled, what? I've never seen that word in my life. Bedraggled, that word fur. If you did ASMR, it would be peak. Yeah, I would try to do ASMR if I could read. Welcome in, Pop. How you doing? Bedraggled fur. As they groom, they purred hushed phrases to the dead warrior. Firepaw whispered into Greypaw's ear. What are they doing? Greypaw didn't take his eyes off the dead cat as he replied. His spirit may have left to join StarClan, but the clan will share tongues with Redtail one last time. StarClan? Firepaw echoed. It's a tribe of heavenly warriors that watch over all clan cats. You can see them in Silverpelt. Firepaw looked confused, so Greypaw explained. Silverpelt is that thick band of stars you see each night stretching across the sky. Each star is a StarClan warrior. Redtail will be among them tonight. Firepaw nodded, and Greypaw stepped forward to share tongues with his dead deputy. Bluestar had remained silent while the first cats came to pay their respects to Redtail. Now she leaped down from the high rock and walked slowly toward Redtail's body. The other cats retreated and watched as their leader crouched down to share tongues with their old comrade one last time. When she had finished, she raised her head and spoke. Her voice was low and thick with grief, and the clan listened in silence. Redtail was a brave warrior. His loyalty to Thunderclan could never be doubted. I always relied on his judgment, for it bore witness to the needs of the clan. It was never swayed by self-interest or pride. He would have made a fine leader. Then she lowered herself onto her belly, her head bowed, her paws stretched neatly before her, and silently she grieved for her lost friend. Several other cats came and lay down beside her, their bowed heads and hunched backs echoing her mournful pose. Firepaw watched. He had not known Redtail, but he couldn't help feeling moved as he witnessed clan mourn. Greypaw came and stood beside him again. Dustpaw will be sad, he remarked. Dustpaw? Redtail's apprentice. That brown-striped tabby over there? I wonder who his new mentor will be. Firepaw glanced over at the small Tom, who squatted near Redtail's body, staring unseeing at the ground. Firepaw looked past him to the clan leader. How long will Bluestar sit with him? He asked. Probably the whole night, replied Greypaw. Redtail was her deputy for many, many moons. She won't want to let him go too quickly. He was one of the best warriors, not as big and powerful as Tigerclaw or Lionheart, but quick and clever. Firepaw looked at Tigerclaw, admiring the strength that swelled in his powerful muscles and broad head. His massive body showed signs of his warrior life. One of his ears was split into a deep V shape, and a thick scar sliced the bridge of his nose. Suddenly, Tigerclaw stood up and stalked over to Ravenpaw. Spotted Leaf was crouching beside Tigerclaw's wounded apprentice, using her teeth and front paws to press wads of cobweb onto his shoulder wound. Firepaw leaned toward Greypaw and asked, "What's Spotted Leaf doing?" "Stopping the bleeding." It looked like a nasty cut, and Ravenpaw seemed really shaken up. He's always been a bit jumpy, but I've never seen him this bad before. Let's go and see if he's woken up yet. They made their way through the grieving cats toward the spot where Ravenpaw lay and settled themselves a respectful distance away to wait until Tigerclaw had finished speaking. So, Spotted Leaf, Tigerclaw addressed the tortoiseshell with a confident meow. How is he? Do you think you can save him? I've spent a lot of time training him up, and I don't want my efforts to be wasted at the first battle. Spotted Leaf didn't look up from her patient as she replied, Yes, a pity if, after all your valuable training, he dies in this first fight, huh? Firepaw could hear a teasing purr in her soft meow. Will he live? Tigerclaw demanded. Of course, he just needs rest. Tigerclaw snorted and looked down at the motionless black shape. He jabbed Ravenpaw with one of his front claws. Come on then, get up! Ravenpaw didn't move. Look at the length of that claw, Firepaw hissed. Too right, replied Greypaw with feeling. I know I wouldn't want to get into a fight with him. Not so fast, Tigerclaw. Spotted Leaf placed her paw over Tigerclaw's sharp talon and gently moved it away. This apprentice needs to keep as still as possible until the cut has healed. We don't want him opening his wound by jumping about, trying to please you. Leave him alone. Firepaw found himself holding his breath as he waited for Tigerclaw's reaction. He guessed that few cats dared to give orders to the warrior like that. The big tabby stiffened and seemed about to speak when Spotted Leaf meowed teasingly. Even you know better than to argue with the medicine cat, Tigerclaw. Tigerclaw's eyes flashed at the little tortoiseshell's words. I wouldn't dare argue with you, dear Spotted Leaf. He purred. He turned to leave and caught sight of Greypaw and Firepaw. Who's this? He asked Greypaw, towering above them. He's the new apprentice, Greypaw meowed. He smells like a kitty pet, Greypaw meowed. I was a house cat, Firepaw meowed boldly, but I am going to train to be a warrior. Tigerclaw looked at him with sudden interest. Ah, yes, now I remember. Bluestar mentioned that she had stumbled across some stray kitty pet, so she's actually going to try you out, is she? Firepaw sat up very straight, anxious to impress this distinguished clan warrior. That's right, he meowed respectfully. Tigerclaw eyed him thoughtfully. Then I shall watch your progress with interest. Firepaw puffed his chest out proudly as Tigerclaw stalked away. Do you think he liked me? Just then, Ravenpaw stirred and twitched his ears. Has he gone? He mumbled. Who, Tigerclaw? Replied Greypaw, trotting toward him. Yep, he's gone. Hi there, Firepaw began, about to introduce himself. Go away, both of you, Spotted Leaf protested. How am I meant to help this cat with all these interruptions? She impatiently flicked her tail at Greypaw and Firepaw and pushed her way between them and her patient. Firepaw realized she was serious, despite the lively glimmer in her warm amber eyes. Come on then, Firepaw, meowed Greypaw. I'll show you around. See you later, Ravenpaw. Ah, excuse me, let me take a sip. I can feel my mouth drying. Don't like this book, so I'm a pass. Well, you have a good rest of your day, Pop. They got cat star signs? Maybe. Sorry, I needed to take a sip. Okay. The two cats left Spotted Leaf with Ravenpaw and walked across the clearing. Greypaw looked thoughtful. He was clearly taking his duties as a guide very seriously. You know the high rock already. He began flicking his tail toward the big, smooth rock. Bluestar always addresses the clan from there. Her den is down there. He lifted his nose toward a hollow in the side of the high rock. Her den was carved out many moons ago by an ancient stream. Hanging lichen draped the entrance, sheltering the leader's nest from wind and rain. The warriors sleep over here, Greypaw went on. Firepaw followed him to a large bush a few paces away from the high rock. There was a clear view from here right down to the gorse entrance into the camp. The branches of the bush hung low, but Firepaw could see a sheltered space inside where the warriors made their nests. The senior warriors sleep nearest the center, where it's warmest, explained Greypaw. They usually share their fresh kill together over by the clump of nettles. The younger warriors eat nearby. Sometimes they are invited to join the senior warriors for eating, which is a big honor. What about the other clan cats? Firepaw asked, fascinated by fascinated but feeling rather overwhelmed by all the traditions and rituals of clan life. Well, the queens share warrior quarters when they work as warriors, but when they are expecting kits or nursing them, they stay in a nest near the nursery. The elders have their own place on the other side of the clearing. Come on, I'll show you. Firepaw trotted after Greypaw, across the clearing and past a shadowy corner where Spotted Leaf had her den. They stopped up beside a fallen tree that sheltered a patch of lush grass. Crouched among the soft greenery were 4 elderly cats tucking into a plump young rabbit. Dustpaw and Sandpaw would have brought them that, whispered Greypaw. One of the prentice's duties is catching fresh kill for the elders. Hello, youngster, one of the elders greeted Greypaw. Hello, Small Ear, meowed Greypaw, nodding respectfully. This must be our new apprentice, Firepaw, isn't it? Meowed a second Tom. His patchy fur was dark brown, and there was only a stump where his tail should have. Hello, youngster, one of the elders greeted Greypaw. Hello, Small Ear, meowed Greypaw, nodding respectfully. This must be our new apprentice, Firepaw, isn't it? Meowed a second Tom. His patchy fur was dark brown, and there was only a stump where his tail should have been. That's right, Firepaw replied, copying Greypaw's polite nod. I'm Halftail, purred the brown Tom. Welcome to the clan. Have you two eaten? Meowed Small Ear. Firepaw and Greypaw both shook their heads. Well, there's enough here. Dustpaw and Sandpaw are turning into fine hunters. Would you mind if these youngsters shared a mouse, One Eye? The pale gray queen, who lay beside him, shook her head. Firepaw noticed one of her eyes was clouded and sightless. What about you, Dappletail? The other elder, a tortoiseshell she-cat with a gray muzzle, meowed in a voice cracked with age. Of course not. Thank you, meowed Greypaw eagerly. He stepped forward and took a large mouse from the pile of prey, then dropped it at Firepaw. The sounds are getting to me. Then dropped it at Firepaw's feet. You still not tasted mouse? He asked. No, Firepaw admitted. He suddenly felt excited by the warm smells that were rising from this piece of fresh kill. His whole body quivered at the thought of sharing his first real food as a clan member. In that case, you can have first bite. Just save me some. Greypaw dipped his head and stood back to give Firepaw room. Firepaw crouched down and took a large bite from the mouse. It was juicy and tender and sang with the flavors of the forest. What do you think? Asked Greypaw. Fantastic, mumbled Firepaw, his mouth still full. Move over then, meowed Greypaw, stepping forward and bending his head to take a bite. As the 2 apprentices shared the mouse, they listened to the elders talk among themselves. How long before Bluestar appoints a new deputy? Asked Small Ear. What did you say, Small Ear? Meowed One Eye. I think your hearing has become as poor as your eyesight, snapped Small Ear impatiently. I said, how long before Bluestar appoints a new deputy? One Eye ignored Small Ear's irritated reply and spoke instead to the Tortoiseshell Queen. Dappletail, do you remember the day many moons ago when Bluestar herself was appointed deputy? Dappletail meowed earnestly. Oh, yes, it was not long after she lost her kits. She'll not be happy to be appointing a new deputy, Small Ear observed. Redtail served her long and well, but she'll need to make up her mind quickly. According to clan custom, the choice has to be made before Moon High, after the death of the old deputy. Also, we're on ad break, so let me pause. Let me take a second. So, if you guys are confused on who the deputies are and who the clan leader is, typically, whenever you see the name Star at the end of their name, that means they're a leader. So, Blue Star is the leader of the clan. Or deputy, which is basically the clan leader to be, and their second in command, was fucking Redtail, and he got, so now she has to pick a new deputy to serve her. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Now we're talking to the elder cats, and they are reminiscing on older days and yapping about that, but yeah. What are we thinking? Who are we vibing with? Whose vibes are we fucking with? One Eye, not One Eye. No, yeah, One Eye. One Eye kind of reminds me of Abby a little bit. For those of y'all who've been around stream long enough, you know who Miss Abby is. she's let herself know. Um, Also, I have to share a really cute photo later. She has a sweater for the winter times down here because it gets cold as fuck. And she's really tiny. So I got her a sweater and it has a little hoodie. She looks so fucking adorable. I gotta share it in Discord later. But yeah, I just I just think whenever I hear new descriptions of another cat, I'm like, you know what? This kind of reminds me of Abby a little bit. She would be like this, all sassy and shit. Be the really troublesome older cat there. Da-da-da. She'll not be happy to be appointing a new deputy, Smolier observed. Redtail served her long and well, but she'll need to make up her mind quickly. According to clan custom, the choice has to be made before moon high after the death of the old deputy. At least this time the choice is obvious, meowed Halftail. Firepaw raised his head and looked around the clearing. Who could Halftail mean? To Firepaw, all the warriors looked worthy of becoming deputy. Perhaps he meant Tigerclaw? After all, he had avenged Redtail's death. Tigerclaw was sitting not far off, his ears angled toward the elder's conversation. As Firepaw stretched with his tongue to lick the last traces of mouse from his whiskers, Bluestar's voice called from the high rock. Redtail's body still lay in the clearing below, pale gray in the fading light. A new deputy must be appointed, she meowed. First, let us give thanks to StarClan for the life of Redtail. Tonight he sits with his fellow warriors among the stars. Silence fell as all the cats looked up into the sky, which was beginning to darken as evening crept over the forest. And now I shall name Thunderclan's new deputy. Bluestar continued. I say these words before the body of Redtail, so that his spirit may hear and approve my choice. Firepaw looked at Tigerclaw. He couldn't help noticing the hunger in the big warrior's amber eyes as he stared up at the high rock. Lionheart, meowed Bluestar, will be the new deputy of Thunderclan. Firepaw was curious to see Tigerclaw's reaction, but the dark warrior's face revealed nothing as he moved to congratulate Lionheart with a nudge so hearty that it almost pushed the golden tabby off balance. Why didn't she make Tigerclaw deputy? Firepaw whispered to Greypaw. Probably because Lionheart has been a warrior longer, so he has a lot more experience, Greypaw murmured back, still looking up at Bluestar. Bluestar spoke again. Redtail was also mentor to young Dustpaw. Since there must be no delay in the training of our apprentices, I shall appoint Dustpaw's new mentor immediately. Darkstripe, you are ready for your first apprentice, so you will continue Dustpaw's training. You had a fine mentor in Tigerclaw, and I expect you to pass on some of the excellent skills you were taught. The tabby warrior swelled with pride, and he showed his acceptance with a solemn nod. He strode over to Dustpaw, bent his head, and rather awkwardly touched noses with his new apprentice. Dustpaw flicked his tail respectfully, but his eyes were still dull with grief for his lost mentor. Bluestar raised her voice. I shall keep a vigil with Redtail's body tonight, before we bury him at sunrise. She jumped down from the high rock and walked over to lie beside Redtail's body once more. Many of the other cats joined her, Dustpaw and Smolier among them. Should we sit with them too? Firepaw suggested. He had admitted the idea didn't appeal to him much. It had been a busy day, and he was beginning to feel tired. All he wanted to do was find somewhere warm and dry to curl up and sleep. Greypaw shook his head. No, only those who are closest to Redtail will share his final night. I'll show you where we sleep. The apprentice's den is over here. Firepaw followed Greypaw to a thick bush of ferns that lay behind a mossy tree stump. All the apprentices share their fresh kill by the stump, Greypaw told him. How many apprentices are there? Firepaw asked. Not as many as usual. Just me, you, Ravenpaw, Dustpaw, and Sandpaw. As Greypaw and Firepaw settled themselves beside the tree stump, a young she-cat crawled out from beneath the ferns. Her coat was ginger, like Firepaw's, but much paler, with barely visible stripes of darker fur. So here comes the new apprentice, she meowed, narrowing her eyes. Hello, Firepaw meowed. The young cat sniffed rudely. He smells like a kitty pet. Don't tell me I'm going to share my nest with that revolting stench. Firepaw felt rather taken aback. Since his fight with Longtail, all the cats had been quite friendly. Maybe they had just been distracted by Ravenpaw's news, he thought. You'll have to excuse Sandpaw, apologized Greypaw. I think she must have a fur ball stuck somewhere. She's not usually this bad-tempered. Psst, spat Sandpaw crossly. Hold on, youngsters, the deep voice of Whitestorm sounded behind the apprentices. Sandpaw, as my apprentice, I expected you to be a little more welcoming to this newcomer. Sandpaw held her head and looked defiant. I'm sorry, Whitestorm, she purred, not sounding sorry at all. I just didn't expect to be training with a kitty pet, that's all. I'm sure you'll get used to it, Sandpaw, meowed Whitestorm calmly. Now, it's getting late, and training starts early tomorrow. You three should get some sleep. He gave Sandpaw a stern look, and she nodded obediently. As he walked off, she spun around and vanished into a clump of ferns, sniffing once more as she brushed past Firepaw. The flick of his tail, Greypaw invited Firepaw to follow him, and led the way after Sandpaw. Inside the sleeping area, the ground was lined with soft moss, and the pale moonlight turned everything a delicate shade of green. The air was fragrant with fern scent, and the warmer God, excuse me, my brain is literally melting. And warmer than outside. Where do I sleep? Firepaw asked. Anywhere, just so long as it's not near me, snarled Sandpaw, who was prodding some moss with her paw. Greypaw and Firepaw exchanged glances, but said nothing. Firepaw raked together a pile of moss with his claws. When he had gathered his bed into a cozy nest, he circled into it. Wow, am I dying? Excuse me. He circled until it was comfortable and settled down. His whole body felt drowsy in contentment. This was his home now. He was a member of Thunderclan. Hey, Firepaw, wake up! Greypaw's meow broke into Firepaw's dream. He had been chasing a squirrel up and up into the topmost branches of a tall oak. Training begins at sunrise. Dustpaw and Sandpaw are already up, Greypaw added urgently. Firepaw stretched sleepily, then remembered today was his first day of training. He leaped to his paws. His drowsiness evaporated as excitement surged through his veins. Greypaw was giving himself a hasty wash. Between licks, he meowed. I've just spoken to Lionheart. Ravenpaw won't be training with us till his wound is better. He'll probably stay at Spotted Leaf's den for another day or two. Dustpaw and Sandpaw are on hunting duty, so Lionheart thought you and I could train with him and Tigerclaw this morning. We better hurry, though, he added. They'll be waiting. Greypaw led Firepaw quickly through the gorse entrance of the camp and up the side of the rock-strewn valley. As they climbed over the crest of the ravine, a cool breeze ruffled their fur. Fat white clouds raced across the blue sky overhead. Firepaw felt fierce joy well up inside him as he followed Greypaw down a tree-shaded slope and into a sandy hollow. Tigerclaw and Lionheart were indeed waiting, sitting a few tail lengths apart on the sun-warmed sand. In future, I expect you both to be punctual, growled Tigerclaw. Don't be too severe, Tigerclaw. It was a busy night last night. I expect they were tired, meowed Lionheart gently. You have not yet assigned a mentor, Firepaw, he went on. For now, Tigerclaw and I will share your training. Firepaw nodded enthusiastically, his tail held high, unable to disguise his delight at having two such great warriors as his mentors. Come, meowed Tigerclaw impatiently. Today we are going to show you the edges of our territory, so that you know where you will be hunting and what boundaries you need to protect. Greypaw, it won't do you any harm to remind yourself of the clan's outer limits. Without another word, Tigerclaw leaped up and bounded out of the sandy hollow. Lionheart nodded to Greypaw, and they took off with equal speed. Firepaw scrambled after them, his paws slipping on the soft sand. The trees were thick in this part of the forest, birch and ash trees overshadowed by mighty oaks. The ground was carpeted with crisp, dead leaves and rustled beneath their paws. Tigerclaw paused to spray his scent on the thick clump of ferns. The other cats stopped beside him. There is a two-leg path here, murmured Lionheart. Use your nose, Firepaw. Can you smell anything? Firepaw sniffed. There was the faint scent of two-leg, and the stronger smell of a dog, familiar to him from his old home. The two-leg has walked his dog along here, but they are gone now, he meowed. Good, meowed Lionheart. Do you think it is safe to cross? Firepaw sniffed again. The odors were weak and seemed overlaid with fresher forest smells. Yes, he replied. Tigerclaw nodded, and the four cats stalked out from beneath the ferns and crossed the sharp stones of the narrow two-leg path. The trees beyond were pine. They grew tall and straight, row after row. It was easy to walk silently here. The ground was thick with layers of dead needles, which prickled against Firepaw's pads, but felt spongy underneath. There was no undergrowth here to hide, and Firepaw sensed tension in the other cats as they stalked unprotected between the tree trunks. Two Legs put these trees here, meowed Tigerclaw. They cut them down with foul-smelling creatures, which spew enough fumes to make a kit go blind. Then they take the fallen trees to the tree-cut place that lies near here. Firepaw stopped and listened for the roar of the tree-eater, which he had heard before. The tree-cut place will be silent for a few moons more, until the time of Greenleaf, explained Greypaw, noticing his pause. The cats padded on through the pine forest. Two-Leg Place lies in that direction, meowed Tigerclaw, flicking his tail to one side. No doubt you can smell it, Firepaw. Today, however, we will head the other way. Eventually, they reached another two-leg path that marked the far edge of the pine forest. They quickly crossed over into the safe bushes of the oak woods beyond. But Firepaw still sensed anxiety in the other cats. We're approaching RiverClan territory, whispered Greypaw. The Sunning Rocks are over there. He pointed with his soft muzzle to a treeless mound of boulders. Firepaw felt his fur stand on end. This was where Redtail had been slain. Lionheart stopped by a flat gray rock. This is the boundary between Thunderclan and RiverClan territory. RiverClan rules the hunting grounds besides the Great River, he meowed. Breathe deeply, Firepaw. The pungent smell of unfamiliar cats hits the roof of Firepaw's mouth. He was surprised how different it smelled from the warm cat scents of the Thunderclan camp, and he was also surprised to realize just how familiar and comforting the Thunderclan scents seemed to him already. That is the smell of RiverClan, Tigerclaw growled beside him. Remember it well. It will be strongest at the boundary, because their warriors will have scent-marked the trees along here. With these words, the dark tabby lifted his tail and sprayed his own mark on the flat rock. We'll follow this boundary line as it leads straight to 4 trees, Lionheart meowed. He set off quickly away from Sunning Rocks, followed by Tigerclaw. Greypaw and Firepaw trotted after them. What is 4 trees? Firepaw panted. It is where the territories of all 4 clans meet, replied Greypaw. There are 4 great oaks there, as old as the clans. Quiet, ordered Tigerclaw. Don't forget how close we are to enemy territory. The 2 apprentices fell silent, and Firepaw concentrated on walking silently. They crossed a shallow stream, keeping their paws dry by leaping from boulder to boulder across the pebbly riverbed. By the time they reached 4 trees, Firepaw was feeling completely out of breath, and his paws ached. He wasn't used to traveling so far and so fast. He was quite relieved when Lionheart and Tigerclaw led them out of the thick woods and stopped at the brow of a bush-covered slope. It was sun-high now. The clouds had cleared, and the wind had dropped. Below, in the dazzling sunlight, stood 4 enormous oaks, their dark green crowns reaching almost to the top of the steep slope. As Greypaw told you, meowed Lionheart to Firepaw, this is 4 trees, where the territories of all 4 clans meet. One clan governs the high ground ahead of us, where the sun sets. You won't be able to catch their scent today, the wind is blowing toward them, but you'll learn it soon enough. And ShadowClan holds power over there in the darkest part of the forest, added Greypaw, flicking his head sideways. The elders say that the cold winds from the north blow over the ShadowClan cats and chill their hearts. So many clans, Firepaw exclaimed, and so well organized, he added to himself, remembering Smudge's lurid tales of wildcats wreaking terror in the forest. You see now why prey is so precious, meowed Lionheart. Why we must fight to protect what little we have. But that seems foolish. Why can't the clans work together and share their hunting grounds instead of fighting each other? Firepaw suggested boldly. A shocked silence greeted his words. Tigerclaw was the first to reply. That is treacherous thinking, Kitty Pet, he snapped. Don't be too fierce, Tigerclaw warned Lionheart. The ways of the clans are new to this apprentice. He looked at Firepaw. You speak from your heart, young Firepaw. This will make you a strong warrior one day. Tiger Claw growled, or it might have, or excuse me, or it might make him give in to kitty pet weakness right at the moment of attack. Lionheart glanced briefly at Tiger Claw before he continued. The floor clans, god damn it, the four clans do come together peacefully in a gathering each moon here. He bent his head toward the four mighty oaks below. Here is where they meet. The truce lasts for as long as the moon is at its fullest. Then there must be a meeting very soon, Firepaw suggested, remembering how bright the moonlight had been the night before. Indeed there is, answered Lionheart, sounding impressed. Tonight, in fact. The gatherings are very important, because they allowed the clans to come together in peace for one night, but you must understand that longer alliances bring more trouble than they're worth. It is our clan loyalty that makes us strong, Tiger Claw meowed in agreement. If you weaken that loyalty, you weaken our chances of survival. Firepaw nodded. I understand, he meowed. Come on, meowed Lionheart, standing up. Let's keep moving. They paced along the ridge of the valley where four trees stood. Now they were heading away from the sun as it began to sink in the afternoon sky. They crossed the stream at a place where it was narrow enough to leap over in one jump. Firepaw sniffed the air. A new cat scent touched his mouth glands, strong and sour. Which clan is that? He asked. Shadow Clan, answered Tiger Claw grimly. We are traveling along their border. Keep your wits about you, Firepaw. Fresher scents mean that a Shadow Clan patrol is in the area. As Firepaw nodded, he heard a new noise. He stiffened, but the other cats kept up their pace, headed straight for the ominous rumbling. What's that? He called, trotting to catch up with them. You'll see in a moment, replied Lionheart. Firepaw peered through the trees ahead. They seemed to be getting thinner, letting in a broad band of sunlight. Are we at the edge of the woods? He asked. Then he stopped and took a deep breath. The green forest scents were overlaid with other strange, dark smells. This time, it was not cat scent, but an odor that reminded him of his old two-leg home. And the rumbling was getting louder, a ceaseless roar that made the ground tremble and ached in Firepaw's ears. This is the Thunder Path, meowed Tiger Claw. Firepaw followed as Lionheart led them toward the edge of the forest. Then he sat down and all four cats looked out. Firepaw could see a gray path like a river cutting its way through the forest. The hard gray stones stretched ahead of him, so far that the trees on the other side seemed blurred and tiny. Firepaw shuddered at the bitter smell that rose from the path. The next moment he leaped back, his fur bristling as a gigantic monster roared past. The branches of the trees on either side flapped madly in the wind that chased the speeding monster. Firepaw stared around at the other cats, his eyes wide, unable to speak. He had seen paths like this before near his old two-leg home, but never this wide, nor with monsters so swift and fierce. Scared me too the first time, remarked Greypaw. But at least it helps keep Shadow Clan warriors from crossing into our territory. The Thunder Path runs for many paw steps along our boundary line. And don't worry, those monsters never seem to leave the Thunder Path. You'll be fine as long as you don't go too near. It's time we return to camp, meowed Lionheart. You've seen all our boundaries now, but we'll avoid snake rocks, even though the way around is longer. An untrained apprentice would be easy prey for an adder, and I expect you are getting tired, Firepaw. Firepaw couldn't help feeling relieved at the thought of returning to the camp. His head was spinning with all the new smells and sights, and Lionheart was right. He was tired and hungry. He fell in behind Greypaw as the cats turned away from the Thunder Path, headed back into the forest. The dewy sense of evening filled the air as Firepaw made his way through the gorse entrance into the Thunderclan camp. Fresh kill was waiting for them. Firepaw and Greypaw took their share from the pile that lay in a shady part of the clearing and carried it to the tree stump outside their quarters. Dustpaw and Sandpaw were already there, munching hungrily. Hi there, Kitty Pet, mewed. Mewed! Oh no. Meowed Dustpaw, narrowing his eyes scornfully at Firepaw. Enjoy the food we caught for you. Who knows, you might even learn to catch your own one day, sneered Sandpaw. Are you two still on hunting duty? Asked Greypaw innocently. Never mind. We've been patrolling our territory borders. You'll be glad to know all is safe. I'm sure the other clans were terrified when they smelled you two coming, yowled Dustpaw. They didn't even dare show their faces, retorted Greypaw, unable to hide his anger. Well, we'll ask them tonight when we see them at the clan gathering, meowed Sandpaw. Are you going? Firepaw blurted out, impressed in spite of the apprentice's hostility. Of course, replied Dustpaw loftily. It's a great honor, you know, but don't worry. Don't worry. We'll tell you all about it in the morning. Greypaw ignored Dustpaw's gloating and started eating his fresh kill. Firepaw was hungry too and crouched down to eat. He couldn't help feeling a twinge of envy that Dustpaw and Sandpaw were actually going to meet the other clans tonight. A loud call from Blue Star made Firepaw look up. He watched several of the clan warriors and elders gather in the clearing. It was time for the clan party to leave for the gathering. Dustpaw and Sandpaw leaped to their feet and trotted off to join the other cats. Bye, you two, called Sandpaw over her shoulder. Have a nice, quiet evening. The assembled cats stalked out of the camp entrance in a single file, with Blue Star at the head. Her fur glowed like silver in the moonlight, and she looked calm and confident as she led her clan to the brief truce between old enemies. Have you ever been to a gathering? Firepaw asked Greypaw wistfully. Not yet, replied Greypaw, crunching loudly on a mouse bone. But it won't be long now. Just you wait. All the apprentices get to go sometime. The two apprentices ate the rest of their meal in silence. When they had finished, Greypaw wandered over to Firepaw and began to groom his head. Together they washed, sharing tongues, as Firepaw had seen the other cats do when he first arrived. Then, tired after the long trek, they pushed their way into their den. They settled down in their nest and quickly fell asleep. The following morning, Greypaw and Firepaw arrived early at the sandy hollow. They had crept out before Sandpaw and Dustpaw woke. Firepaw had been eager to hear about the gathering, but Greypaw had dragged him away. You'll hear all about it later, if I know those two, he had meowed. It promised to be another warm day, and this time Ravenpaw came to join them. Thanks to Spotted Leaf, his wound was healing well. Greypaw played around, scooping leaves into the air and leaping after them. Firepaw watched, his tail twitching with amusement. Ravenpaw sat quietly at one side of the hollow, looking tense and unhappy. Cheer up, Ravenpaw, called Greypaw. I know you don't like training, but you're not usually this miserable. The sense of Lionheart and Tigerclaw warned the apprentices of their approach, and Ravenpaw meowed hastily. I suppose I'm just worried about my shoulder getting hurt again. At that moment, Tigerclaw emerged from the bushes, closely followed by Lionheart. Warriors should suffer their pain silently, growled Tigerclaw. He looked Ravenpaw straight in the eye. You need to learn to hold your tongue. Ravenpaw flinched and dropped his eyes to the ground. Tigerclaw's a bit grumpy today, Greypaw whispered into Firepaw's ear. Lionheart glanced at his apprentice sternly and announced, Today we are going to practice stalking. Now there's a big difference between creeping up on a rabbit and creeping up on a mouse. Can any of you tell me why? Firepaw had no idea, and Ravenpaw seemed to have taken Tigerclaw's comment to heart and was holding his tongue. Come on, snorted Tigerclaw impatiently. It was Greypaw who answered, because a rabbit will smell you before he sees you, but a mouse will feel your paw steps through the ground before he even smells you. Exactly, Greypaw. So what must you bear in mind when hunting mice? Step lightly, Firepaw suggested. Lionheart looked approvingly at him. Quite right, Firepaw. You must take all your weight into your haunches so that your paws make no impact on the forest floor. Let's try it. Firepaw watched as Greypaw and Ravenpaw immediately dropped into a stalking crouch. Nicely done, Greypaw, meowed Lionheart as the two apprentices began to move forward stealthily. Keep your rear down, Ravenpaw. You look like a duck, spat Tigerclaw. Now you try it, Firepaw. Firepaw crouched down and began to creep across the forest floor. He felt himself fall instinctively into the right position, and as he stepped forward, as silently and lightly as he could, he felt a glow of pride that his muscles responded so smoothly. Well, it's obvious you've known nothing but softness, growled Tigerclaw. You stalk like a lumbering kitty pet. You think dinner is going to come and lie down in your food dish and wait to be eaten? Firepaw sat up quickly as Tigerclaw spoke, a little taken aback by his harsh words. He listened carefully to the warrior, determined to get everything right. His pace and forward movement will come later, but his crouch is perfectly balanced, Lionheart pointed out mildly. Which is better than Ravenpaw, I suppose, complained Tigerclaw. He cast a scornful look at the black cat. Even after 2 moons of training, you're still putting all your weight on the left side. Ravenpaw looked even more dejected, and Firepaw couldn't stop himself from blurting out, his injury is bothering him, that's all. Tigerclaw whipped his head around and glared at Firepaw. Injuries are a fact of life. He should be able to adapt. Even you, Firepaw, have learned something this morning. If Ravenpaw picked up things as quickly as you, he'd be a credit to me instead of an embarrassment. Imagine being shown up by a kitty pet, he spat angrily at his apprentice. Firepaw felt his fur prickle with discomfort. He couldn't meet Ravenpaw's eyes, so he looked down at his paws. Well, I'm more lopsided than a one-legged badger, meowed Greypaw, breaking off from his careful stalking to stagger comically across the clearing. I think I'll have to settle for hunting stupid mice. They won't stand a chance. I shall just wander up to them and sit on them till they surrender. Concentrate, young Greypaw. This is no time for jokes, meowed Lionheart sternly. Perhaps you might focus your mind better if you try out your stalking for real. All 3 apprentices looked up brightly. I want each one of you to try catching real prey, meowed Lionheart. Ravenpaw, you look beside the owl tree. Greypaw, there might be something in that big bramble patch over there. And you, Firepaw, follow the rabbit track over that rise. You'll find the dry bed of a winter stream. You may find something there. The 3 apprentices bounded away, even Ravenpaw finding some extra energy for this challenge. With the blood pounding in his ears, Firepaw crept slowly over the rise. Sure enough, a stream bed cut through the trees ahead of him. In leaf fall, he guessed it would carry the rainwater away from the forest and into the great river that cut through RiverClan territory. Now it was dry. Firepaw crept quietly down the bank and crouched on its sandy floor. Every sense felt on fire with tension. Silently, he scanned the empty stream for signs of life. He watched for any tiny movement, his mouth open so he could pick up the smallest scent. His ears twisted forward. Then he smelled mouse. He recognized the odor instantly, remembering his first taste the night before. Wild energy surged through him, but he remained motionless, trying desperately to pinpoint the prey. He strained his ears forward until he picked up the rapid pulsing of a tiny mouse heart. Then a flash of brown caught his eye. The creature was scrambling through the long grass that draped the edges of the stream. Firepaw shifted closer, remembering to keep his weight on his haunches until he was within striking distance. Then he pushed back hard on his hind paws and sprang, kicking up sand as he rose. The mouse raced away, but Firepaw was quicker. He scooped it up into the air with one paw, threw it onto the sandy stream bed, and lunged on top of it. He killed it quickly with one sharp bite. Firepaw carefully lifted the warm body between his teeth and returned with his tail held high to the hollow where Tigerclaw and Lionheart waited. He had made his first kill. He was a true Thunderclan apprentice now. Yippee! Our boy did first kill. First kill on the battlefield. Was one rat. Well, that was chapter 5. Are we feeling one more? Are we feeling like, hey, that's enough Warrior Cats reading for me today? But our boy, Firepaw, he's come such a far way from dreaming about getting his first kill to actually doing it. And he might actually just be showing up bitches now, because he's gonna come back and they're gonna be like, what the hell? It wasn't even that easy for me. But that was the first 5 chapters of Warrior Cats. How are we feeling, y'all? My usual peeps are like, Errol, I'm regretting ever mentioning Warrior Cats to you. I don't want to read no more Warrior Cats. yeah, that's all we got. Well, regardless if y'all have been enjoying it or not, I've been enjoying myself. It is nice to reread through this. I realize how kind of goofy this all might seem concept-wise, but I promise you, shit starts going down and you genuinely start getting invested in some of the characters. There's plot twists, there's love triangles, there's death, there's everything that you could need for like a really jam-packed show or something. It's all in there. All in there. Imagine you find your runaway cat and you unknowingly rip him away from his new warrior clan family. Oh, Rusty, there you are. Come back. Oh, we gotta send you to the cutter immediately. They're like, ah! Been a great vibe? Hell yeah. As long as you like it. Oh, shit. Want to show it off to your community? Who fucking cares? That's what I'm saying. And listen, I think you guys, I'm just saying, I think you guys will enjoy it if we kept reading it. I want to do where we get to, you know, read together and you guys get to voice act, but as you see, like, nobody talks here up until what? Like, some things that he remembers, or like small dialogue here and there. Like, this is all dialogue. See? But there's some moments where it's all just like reading from Firepaw's perspective. But honestly, if y'all are down, we can figure it out. I can see if there's like a better way to kind of break it up for you guys, so you guys can read along. Or you guys just read along with me and we figure it out from there. Popcorn reading style. Been enjoying it already? Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys are. I've been having a lot of fun with it. And the story gets really interesting and it takes off pretty fast. So we get to learn about the Star Clan and their role as like a higher being, or just the higher beings in general, the roles that certain clan cats have within the society that they have here. It gets pretty fucking deep and cool in their lore, at least from what I remember. Again, this was something I read years ago growing up, and I remember really liking it, so... Also, welcome in, Tumbers. Hello. Appreciate the socio-political undertones of warrior cats. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them, I will say. It gets pretty... How do you say? It's structured, I'll say that. Obviously, it's about cats, so it's not like it goes crazy in depth, but there is a lot that goes on, as far as, like, their quote-unquote religion or how they practice certain things, and I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. There's also like prophecies, like in the beginning we see that prophecy that fire is gonna save the clan, so whoa, we get prophecies and shit like that. I don't know, I think it's interesting concept. We read Foxcraft. It's the same-ish concept, of course. Fox POV. I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not seen it or read it. Kind of makes me want to reread some older series I read growing up. It's fun! I remember, like, a lot of... I mean, when I grew up, I read a lot of manga. This was probably one of my first, like, longer series that I actually picked up. Obviously, we had, like, the Divergent series in school and all that, which I did enjoy Divergent as well. But I started remembering a lot of older books. This was one that I was really into, and I was like, damn, I remember really liking the story. I kind of want to get back into it, just because it's, you know, it was interesting to me at the time, but I would like to go back with a fresh lens to see how the fuck it was. But yeah, let me get one more chapter under our belt, and then we will pick back up next Wednesday. Does that sound good to y'all? Let me also take one more sip. I realize I'm running low on my hydration, so this last one might be good to call it. Alright. Alright. Chapter 6. Early morning sunlight streamed down onto the forest floor as Firepaw roamed in search of prey. 2 moons had passed since he had begun his training. He felt at ease in this environment now. His senses had been awoken and educated in the ways of the woods. Firepaw paused to sniff the earth and the cold, blind things that moved within it. He caught the scent of a 2-leg that had wandered the forest recently. Now that Greenleaf was fully here, leaves were thick on the branches and tiny creatures were busy beneath the carpet of leaf mold. Firepaw made a lean, strong shape. Sorry, I don't know why that confused me. Firepaw made a lean, strong shape as he moved silently through the trees, all his senses alert for the scent trail that would end in a swift kill. Today he had been set his first solo task. He was determined to do well, even if his task was only to bring back fresh kill for the clan. He headed for the stream that had crossed on on that first trek through the Thunderclan hunting grounds. It gurgled and spattered as it ran downhill over the smooth, round pebbles. Firepaw paused briefly to lap at the cold, clear water, then lifted his head and tested the air again for any scent of prey. The stench of a fox lay heavy in the air here. The smell was stale, so the fox must have drunk here earlier in the day. Firepaw recognized the odor. He had smelled it on his first visit to the forest. Since then, Lionheart had taught him it was fox scent, but apart from the glimpse of the fox's brush he had caught on that first outing, Firepaw had still never seen one properly. He struggled to screen out the fox stench and concentrate on prey scent. Suddenly his whiskers prickled as he homed in on the warm blood beat of prey, a water vole busy about its nest. He struggled to screen— oh, excuse me. A moment later, he saw the vole. The fat, brown body was darting back and forth along the bank as it gathered grass stalks. Firepaw's mouth watered in anticipation. His last meal had been many hours ago, but he dared not hunt for himself until the clan had been fed. He remembered the words repeated by Lionheart and Tigerclaw time and time again. The clan must be fed first. Dropping into a crouch, Firepaw began to stalk the little creature. Its orange belly fur brushed against the damp grass. He crept closer, his eyes never leaving his prey. Almost there. Another moment, he would be near enough to spring. Suddenly, there was a loud rustle in the ferns behind him. The water vole's ears twitched and disappeared down a hole in the bank. Firepaw felt the hackles rising along his spine. Whatever had ruined his first good chance of catching prey would have to pay. He sniffed the air. He could tell it was a cat, but he realized with a jolt that he couldn't identify which clan it belonged to. The stale stench of fox still confused his smell sense. A growl rose in his throat as he began doubling back in a wide circle. He pricked up his ears and opened his eyes wide, seeking out any movement. He heard the undergrowth rustle again. It was louder now, off to one side. Firepaw edged closer. He could see the ferns moving, but the fronds still hid the enemy from view. A twig snapped with a sharp cracking noise. The noise it's making, it must be big, Firepaw thought, preparing himself for a fierce battle. He leaped for the trunk of an ash and climbed swiftly and silently up to an overhanging branch. Below him, the invisible warrior came closer and closer still. Firepaw held his breath, judging his moment as the ferns were pushed aside and a large grayish shape emerged. Groar! Okay. Yo, my battle cry. Anyways. Clip it. No! No! Okay, anyways. I'm dying. I'm so intimidated right now. Yeah. You better run when you hear the the battle cry rumbled into Firepaw's throat, claws unsheathed. He launched himself at the enemy and landed squarely on a set of furry, muscular shoulders. He dug in hard, gripping with thorn-sharp claws, ready to deal out a powerful warning bite. What was that? The body below him shot straight up in the air, carrying him with it. Greypaw? Firepaw recognized the astonished voice and caught his friend's familiar smell, but he was too fired up to loosen his grip. Ambush! Meow! Why is there cat sounds now? Anyways, ambush! Spat Greypaw, not realizing that the cat gripping onto his back was Firepaw. He rolled over and over in an attempt to dislodge his attacker. Ugh. Firepaw rolled with it. Listen. If you need voice acting lessons, come to me, I got you. Firepaw rolled with him, squashed and flattened beneath the heavy body. It's me, Firepaw, he yowled as he struggled to pull free and sheath his claws. Rolling away, he sprang to his feet and gave himself a shake, which rippled all the way along his body to the end of his tail. Greypaw, it's me, he repeated. I thought you were an enemy warrior. Greypaw rose to his feet. He winced and shook himself. It felt like it, he grumbled, twisting his head around to lick his sore shoulders. You've raked me to shreds. Sorry, Firepaw mumbled. But what was I supposed to think with you creeping up on me like that? Creeping up? Greypaw's eyes were round with indignation. That was my best stealth crouch. Stealth? You still stalk like a lopsided badger, Firepaw teased. He flattened his ears playfully. Greypaw gave a hiss of delight. I'll show you, lopsided. The two cats leaped at each other and began rolling over and over in a play fight. Greypaw swiped at Firepaw with a hefty paw, and the young apprentice's head buzzed with stars. Oof. Firepaw shook his head to clear it and then launched a... I loved it. Ooh. What sound is this supposed to be? And now every time I see this, it's just gonna be oof. Firepaw shook his head to clear it and then launched a counterattack. He managed to get in a couple of paw strikes before Greypaw overpowered him and held him down. Firepaw let his body go limp. You give up too easily, meowed Greypaw, loosening his grip. As he did so, Firepaw sprang to his feet, firing Greypaw off his back and into the undergrowth. Firepaw leaped after him and pinned him to the ground. Surprise is the warrior's greatest weapon, he crowed, quoting one of Lionheart's favorite phrases. Jesus, I can't talk. Roblox oof, of course. Just a groan. Oof. He jumped nimbly off of Greypaw and began to squirm around in the leaf litter, enjoying his easy victory in the warmth of the earth against his back. Greypaw seemed unbothered by his second defeat of the morning. It was too fine a day for bad temper. So how are you getting on with your tasks? He asked. Firepaw sat up. I was doing just fine till you came along. I was about to catch a vole when your noisy trampling frightened it off. Oh, sorry, meowed Greypaw. Firepaw looked at his crestfallen friend. That's okay, you didn't know, he purred. Anyway, he continued, shouldn't you be heading to meet the patrol on the Wind Clan border? I thought you had to give them a message from Blue Star. Yeah, but there's plenty of time. I was going to do a little hunting first. I'm starving. Me too, but I've got to hunt for the clan before I can hunt for myself. I bet Dustpaw and Sandpaw used to swallow a shrew or two when they were on hunting duty, snorted Greypaw. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but this is my first solo assignment. And you want to do it right, I know, Greypaw sighed. What is the message from Blue Star anyway? Firepaw asked, changing the subject. She wants the patrol to wait at the Great Sycamore until she joins them at Sunhigh. Seems that some Shadow Clan cats have been prowling around. Blue Star wants to check things out. You'd best get going then, Firepaw reminded him. The Wind Clan hunting grounds aren't too far from here. There's plenty of time, answered Greypaw confidently. And I suppose I should help out after losing you that vole. It doesn't matter, Firepaw meowed. I'll find another. It's such a warm day. There should be quite a few out and about. True, but you still have to catch them, Greypaw nibbled at a front claw, stripping off a piece of outer sheath thoughtfully. You know, that could take you until way past Sunhigh, maybe even until sunset. Firepaw nodded without enthusiasm as his belly gave a rumble. He would probably have to make 3 or 4 hunting trips before he had caught enough prey. Silverpelt would be in the sky before he got a chance to eat. Greypaw stroked his whiskers. Come on, I'll help you get started. I owe you that oh my god, I can't English. I owe you that, at least. We should be able to catch a couple of voles before I have to get going. Firepaw followed Greypaw upstream, glad of the company and the help. The fox stench was still in the air, but suddenly it smelled stronger. Firepaw paused. Can you smell that? Can you smell that? He asked. Greypaw stopped and sniffed the air. Fox, yeah, I smelled it earlier. Doesn't it smell fresher to you now, though? Firepaw asked. Greypaw sniffed again, opening his mouth slightly. You're right, he murmured, lowering his voice. He swiveled his head to look across the stream at the bushes in the woods beyond. Look, he whispered. Firepaw looked. He saw something red and thick-haired moving amongst the bushes. It stepped into a clearing in the undergrowth, and Firepaw saw a low body, glinting red in the dappled sunlight. Its tail was heavily furred and had a long, narrow snout. "So that's a fox," Firepaw whispered. "What an ugly muzzle." "You can say that again," agreed Greypaw. "I was following one of those when we first met," whispered Firepaw. "More likely it was following you, you idiot," hissed Greypaw. "Never trust a fox. Looks like a dog, behaves like a cat. We must warn the queens that one has strayed into our territory. Foxes are as bad as badgers when it comes to killing young kits. I'm just glad you didn't catch up with the one you saw last time. He'd have made mouse meat out of a tiny scrap like you." Firepaw looked a little put out, and Greypaw added, "You'd stand a better chance these days, though. Anyway, Bluestar will probably send a warrior patrol to scare it off. Put the queen's minds at rest." The fox had noticed them, so the two apprentices continued along the stream. "So what does a badger look like?" Firepaw asked, as they prowled along, sniffing to either side. "Black and white, short legs. You'll know one when you meet one. They're bad-tempered, lumbering animals. They're less likely to raid the nursery than a fox, but they have a vicious bite. How do you think old Halftail earned his name? He hasn't been able to climb a tree since a badger bit his tail off. Why not? Scared of falling. Cat needs his tail if he wants to land on his feet. Helps him spin in midair." Firepaw nodded in understanding. As Firepaw had predicted, hunting was good that day. Before long, Greypaw had pounced on a small mouse, and Firepaw had caught a thrush. He quickly took its life. No time to practice killing techniques today. There were too many hungry mouths waiting back at camp. Firepaw kicked earth over the prey so that it would be safe from predators until he came back for it. Suddenly, a squirrel broke cover. Firepaw... Let me hide it real quick, sorry. What happens when they beat warrior voles? Yeah, the voles have their own clans and everything. I'd be jealous of Bluestar. Everyone else is something paw and she gets star. Yeah, she's the clan leader. She gets the cool suffix. Okay, excuse me. Suddenly, a squirrel broke cover. Firepaw burst into action. "After it," he called, pelting at full stretch over the springy woodland floor, with Greypaw at his heels. They slid to a halt as the squirrel scampered upward into a birch. "Lost it," Greypaw growled in disappointment. Panting, the two cats stopped to catch their breath. The Acrid? I don't know how you pronounce that name. Or that word. Actually, hold on. Here, this is a good English lesson. Acrid? Acrid. It's acrid, I'm assuming. Pronunciation. Acrid. Okay. I guess I don't know English as well as I do. Acrid. The acrid stench that hit their mouths and noses surprised them. "The thunder path," Firepaw meowed. "I didn't realize we'd come so far." The two cats edged forward to peer out of the forest at the great dark path. It was the first time they had been here alone. A trail of noisy creatures growled along the hard surface, their dead eyes staring straight ahead. "Yuck," Greypaw snorted. "Those monsters really stink." Firepaw twitched his ears in agreement. The choking smells made his throat sting. "Have you ever been across the thunder path?" he meowed. Greypaw shook his head. Firepaw took a step out of the cover of the forest. A border of oily grass lay between the trees and the thunder path. He crept slowly out onto it, and then shrank back as a stinking monster hurled past. "Hey, where are you going?" Greypaw meowed. Firepaw didn't reply. He waited till there were no monsters in sight, then he edged forward again, crossed the grass, right to the edge of the path. Cautiously, he reached out a paw to touch it. It felt warm, almost sticky, heated by the sun. He looked up, staring across the thunder path. Was that a pair of eyes glinting out of the forest on the other side? He sniffed the air, but smelled nothing except the stench of the great gray path. The eyes on the other side were still shining in the shadows. They blinked, slowly. Firepaw was sure now. It was a Shadow Clan warrior, and it was staring straight at him. "Firepaw," Greypaw's voice made... Oh, excuse me. "Firepaw!" Greypaw's voice made Firepaw jump, just as a huge monster, taller than a tree, roared past his nose. The wind from it almost toppled him over. Firepaw turned and ran as fast as he could back into the safety of the forest. You mouse-brained fool, spat Greypaw. His whiskers trembled with fear and anger. What were you doing? I just wondered what the Thunderpath felt like, Firepaw muttered. His whiskers were trembling too. Come on, hissed Greypaw edgedly. Let's get out of here. Firepaw followed Greypaw as he leaped away back into the forest. Once they were a safe distance from the Thunderpath, Greypaw stopped to catch his breath. Firepaw sat down and began to lick his ruffled fur. I think I saw a Shadow Clan warrior. He meowed between licks in the forest on the other side of the Thunderpath. A Shadow Clan warrior? Echoed Greypaw, his eyes wide. Really? I'm pretty sure. Well, it's a good thing that monster came past when it did, retorted Greypaw. Where there's one Shadow Clone... Why do I keep trying to say Shadow Clone? This isn't Naruto. Where there's one Shadow Clan warrior, there's more. We're no match for them yet. We better get out of here. He looked up at the sun, which was almost directly overhead. I better get a move on if I want to meet that patrol on time, he meowed. See you later. He sprang away into the undergrowth, calling as he went. You never know, Lionheart might let me come and help you with the hunting once I've delivered this message. Firepaw watched him go. He envied Greypaw, wishing he were off to join a warrior patrol. But at least he'd have something to tell Dustpaw and Sandpaw when he returned to camp. Today he had seen his first Shadow Clan warrior. Ba ba ba! End of chapter 7! Or excuse me, 6. We're on chapter 7 now. Are other animals sentient in this world, or is it just cats? Ah, good question. I don't know if they focus it really much in the first book, but there are other animals that are sentient, and that's all I'll say. Actually, I don't want to spoil anything. I've never used that word, honestly. Acrid synonyms: foul, sour, or unpleasant. And yes, the Thunderpath, if y'all haven't figured it out by now, it's the highway that splits the forest, and the cars are the beasts that come by. So, yeah, interesting. But that was Warrior Cats. How are we feeling? Yeah, let me come on over to you guys. Oh no, wait, I'm already here. Let me actually switch up the forest ambiance. The ambiance. So how we feeling? What do we think of our first Warrior Cats reading? Are you guys interested? Did it seem interesting to y'all? Is it something you would probably not read on your own time? Listen, I think regardless, we had a lot of fun. Warrior Cats is a very interesting series, and I promise you guys will get invested like I was growing up. Meow! First Warrior Cats reading. Hell yeah. It was good. It was good. I had a lot of fun. I didn't think I was going to be as eloquently spoken as I was today. Yeah, I tried my best. It might have word vomited here and there, but hey, we actually fucking did that. But I think it's a good spot to stop for today. Only got the tail in the stream. Get it? Tail in? Tail. Okay. But I was pleasantly surprised. I wish I had joined at the beginning. You didn't miss too much, to be honest. We meet the character, he joins the clans, and he's kind of training right now. Warrior Cat Wednesday sounds 10 out of 10. Yeah? Are we digging it? We digging the stories? Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you guys enjoy it, because I was a little nervous going into it, to be honest. I was like, this sounds like a crazy idea. Just random. Well, one, I don't really read on streams in general, and I don't know, I was a little nervous going in. So, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, though, and I can actually read. I'll get better as I go over time, and English comes back to my brain. Okay, well, we'll give it another go next Wednesday. Warrior Cat Wednesdays is a thing now. And we'll get further into the story, and who knows? Maybe we'll just make this a thing, and we'll actually get through the series. It was a surprise, but a pleasant one. Hell yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad. I'm just glad you guys enjoyed because I was very, very nervous coming on and reading for you guys. So, glad to hear. Also, I'm so fucking hungry. I can't wait to gorge on something. All this talk about hunting mice. Just got me starving. Like, Arrow, please no. Don't, don't go hunting mice. You see me on all fours going feral now. I'm not making the allegations any better for myself. I fear it's just gonna have to stick around for a little longer. I appreciate you guys stopping on by today's stream. I know it was a little different from what we usually do, but I really, really fucking appreciate all the support nonetheless. Thank you so much for sticking on by, listening to some warrior cats. I hope I have convinced you that the series is pretty interesting. And I'm very excited to get more readings done next week. But on that, I hope you guys take care of yourself. Please make sure you are hydrating, you're eating, and you're resting. Take care of your body, please. If you got nothing going on tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST, hop into the Discord server, have some fun with us. If not, we will see you again on Friday stream for To the Moon. I appreciate you guys stopping on by. Take care of yourselves. I love y'all, and happy floating every bubble. Bye-bye.